All right, NBA fans, it's your time to bring the hoops action back to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, download the app now and sign up with code DEFININGDUKE. New customers can bet just $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make sure to use code DEFININGDUKE. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply, and the offer is void in Ohio. Make sure to see the show notes for details.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 108 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by the ever so direct one, Lord Cognito, who's dressed for the occasion again.
Yeah, you know, we got to get right. We got to put the right things
Where's
on.
your release date at, though? Oh, I don't see a date on that.
All right, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But I'm doing good, man. We just fresh off that developer direct. A lot of things to talk about. Added some more stuff to the show. So it worked out for us this time with the Dukes. But how are you doing?
It did. I'm doing quite well. I always get excited and in a great mood when we have a nice, busy show with lots to talk about. I mean, of course, we're going to go over the brand new January developer direct. Everything we saw in there. A thank you to the audience who doubled back into the Patreon post. I put a note there saying like, hey, if you have questions, just keep in mind we're doing developer direct reactions. So, you know, maybe come back and submit again. It was kind of just a long shot, but tons of you came back and resubmitted. That was awesome to see. So thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to do that. If you're interested in doing so, you can head over to patreon.com/laststandmedia. It's over there that I'll post a thread every single week and we'll gather up your questions there. You also get early access to the show. Otherwise, we hit free feeds on Sunday. Patrons get it on Thursday. So with that, we're also doing our Defining Duke Ultimate episode 103 this coming week. We don't know what it's going to be on yet, though, so we will let you know. We have a couple of things in the balance right now, planning a few things out. So as soon as we find out, so shall you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin, because again, we have a jam-packed show, so we're not going to delay. Let's just talk with the audience on a couple of important pressing topics like trails and food eating habits. That's what really matters here at LSM.
Of course.
Spectre Bull writes in, greetings, Dukes. Hope all is well since the new schedule change. Want to give a massive tip of the hat to Matty for not shutting up about the Legends of Heroes throughout 2022. Matty, you bringing up your Trails of Cold Steel marathon got me digging into the series and kicking around the idea of jumping into a new JRPG that isn't Persona. He's not ready for 3 or 4 yet, and he's got to meditate on those for a while. But he jumped into Trails in the Sky, and holy hell, I love everything about it. The writing, the characters, the music, the combat system that blends tactics with turn-based RPGs. I don't play many JRPGs, and after Persona 5, I was worried I'd spend too much time comparing it to others. Nah, man, Legends of Heroes slaps, and it slaps hard. Thank you, Matty. You, Colin, and Dustin have been bringing out the weeb in me, and by God, it is such a high-cultured class. Cog, up your game, bro. Get a body pillow or something. Hey, why is he going for my guy like that? That was uncalled for.
You can get the Valari, though. Responsible for Valari. So you can get a nice gaming pillow to get your posture right. But I'm good. But I respect y'all JRPGs. I respect y'all.
Yeah, so shout out to Trails. I'm hoping it's a game one day we see hit Game Pass. That'd be very nice. But otherwise, let's move on to more pressing topics. Patches writes in, hey, boys. This week, I'm blowing the horn to possibly begin yet another food war. This time, I want to know how you typically eat a cupcake. My girlfriend brought it to my attention in a very strange way to eat cupcakes, which consist of putting it into a coffee mug and then topping it off with milk and then mushing it. It's an interesting idea on paper, but it kind of made me gag. Personally, I just take a bite out of the bread, then nibble of the frosting to make it as even and as little messy as possible. What say you in your defense? I think his woman should be the one defending herself, man.
Yeah,
that's psychopath behavior.
That's public trial. Like that like you bushing it up and then you throwing it in the milk and put it in the mug. What are we doing? What are we doing?
That's almost too crafty, right? Like you could see those two objects fitting well together, a cupcake and a mug. But when you smush it down, you pour the milk on it. That's like putting your cookies in a glass and just letting them soften for hours and then just drinking the glass after. It's gross.
Yeah, it's not even a cupcake anymore. Like you just made some weird concoction. Like I don't know what that's about. shout out to my man's there. You know what I mean? But Patches. But I think cupcake is interesting because I love cupcakes, but they can get messy. All kind of like sometimes they like break apart on you. But I just keep it. What'd you say?
My nose. That's what gets me with the cupcakes. Like you take a bite and your nose just scrapes the frosting. I'm like, this is such an obtuse food. I don't really like eating you, but you taste great.
That's the thing. It tastes great. It's work. And then sometimes it's the ones that come with, the layers. You got to peel the layer thing. That's like the foil thing that people attach it to. Yeah. So it's like, to me, you got to get a nice spread so that you're not making a mess. Like cupcakes are so good, but to me, it's like a very messy food in a way because you crumbs all over you. You look greedy after you ate a cupcake.
But here's the thing. My brother's girlfriend is like a cupcake artist, literally. Like she actually has a side business she runs selling cupcakes, and she shows up at our house sometimes with these delicious temptations. And the last time she showed up, it was a red velvet cupcake with cookies and cream frosting on the top. Now here's the catch, right? Y'all know me. Oreo baked into the bottom of it. So the bottom part you would bite and you'd get the typical red velvet fluff, right? But then you'd also get a bite of an Oreo. And then on the top you had the frosting. It was beautiful. Like when you were peeling, you're peeling the wrapper off the side. There's no like falling of it was beautiful cupcake. She does a wonderful job.
Contact information.
Yeah, I got you, man. She's looking for business. She'll ship some.
That sounds amazing. You got me like, I'm being super greedy right now.
Opened my eyes. I was like, cupcakes there's so much you can do with them. I never thought of it. I always thought it was frosting on the top, batter on the bottom, et cetera, et cetera. You're good. But much more to it than meets the eye, it seems.
Yeah, see? I love cupcakes.
It's funny. I didn't actually mean to tie those two together when I talked about someone mashing a cookie into the bottom of a glass. But this next write-in talks just about that.
Let's go.
Nevitz writes in, Duke dudes, I need the world to know how my brother disrespects Oreos. Matty, hold on to something. And I'm grabbing my chair, Nevitz. Here we go. I normally don't care how a person eats an Oreo, whether it's dunking in the whole cookie, dipping half the cookie, splitting the cookie, and licking off the icing, whatever. My brother will literally take all the Oreos that he's going to eat, put them all the way submerged into the glass of milk, and take a spoon and mix up to sort of make a melted Oreo milkshake concoction. I don't know how I'm related to this man. I dipped my Oreo for too long and it broke off as I was going to bite it kind of day. This opened my eyes because as an Oreo connoisseur, the thing I took most issue with were people who dipped with a fork. They would stab their fork into the icing on the side and then dip with the fork. They're like, oh, you don't get milk on your fingers. This was a huge debate on ham radio. Like anyone who's an OG listener of my podcast will know this was a big deal on this show. I could not stand the idea of people using a fork to dunk. I think we also talked about it here a little bit too. I don't like that energy, right? That makes me uncomfortable. It really does. It's a finger food at the end of the day. Dip with your fingers, right? Santa's not rolling around on his sleigh with a fork going into people's homes and stabbing the side of Oreos and dipping them into the milk that's left on the table, right? No, that's psychopath behavior. But beyond that, Nevitz, your brother has seemingly taken it to another level. He is now drowning the Oreo, mashing it up. And what you need to introduce him to is this thing called a cookies and cream milkshake and let him know that is separate. You can go get that. Buy some ice cream, mix that up with some milk, call it a day, brother. But what you're doing now is sacrilege. It's horrible. And I got to know, Nevitz, if this is a plain Oreo, if he's going around with like the carrot cake, the velvet cake Oreo, the lemon cookie Oreo, and he is just dousing these in milk and making all sorts of flavorful drinks out of them because quite frankly, I'm upset and I may have to submit a lawsuit of some kind to him on behalf of Nabisco for disrespecting their goods. But Cog, any thoughts on this? Clearly, I'm incensed.
Nah, bro, you are fine with this one. I don't get this. All right, full disclosure. This is embarrassing. I gotta admit it though.
I'm gonna hold my drink. Hold on, I'm not
You're
gonna.
gonna have to. All right, look, just don't leave the show after this one. All right, just don't leave the show. Just remember, I have gaps in my game. I've never dipped an Oreo before.
That's fine. I'm a dry Oreo guy. That's fine.
Yeah, like he said I go with dry. I'm done. You know, that's raw with the Oreo.
That's fine.
I've never done. It's like, I guess because in my home, like I was never like a plain milk drinker. Like my mom really never. She was like very like my house. Like she was like low fat milk and carnation milk. So I'm gonna dip in the Oreo with that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like for me, I was a split guy. I was like, get it. You know, you gotta split it. I'm a split guy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. You know what I'm saying? You break it. I want to appreciate the icing, whatever. But I've never truly tasted an Oreo dipped in milk to make an official decision, but that sounds crazy what he doing, because I do like the Oreo milkshake, like the Oreo milkshake when you taste the chunks and the bits. Oh God, I gotta give a shout out. Five Guys got a decent one. Five Guys got a decent one. Yeah. You can customize. You go, okay, I want a little strawberry. I want a little this extra with the Oreo. But my base is always that Oreos or that cookie and cream kind of base, and a milkshake is phenomenal.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so Nevitz, check on your brother. Make sure you guys are related. Go check the ancestry chart. Just confirm, right? You might be in danger. All right,
thanks.
We got a lot of news, a lot of Xbox related news. We're going to start off with the little tidbits, and of course, we'll get into things like what we're playing, your questions, developer direct, so on and so forth. But here we go. First things first, and it's a big news week when this is like our first one, right? So while speaking to Outlet Game Pressure, Obsidian CEO Fergus Urquhart expressed the following when asked about Fallout New Vegas 2 again. So keep in mind, separate from the first time we heard just a couple of months ago. He says, quote, "We're not working on it right now. Our plate is pretty full with Avowed, Grounded, and The Outer Worlds 2. I don't know when we're going to start talking about new games, maybe toward the end of the next year." And this conversation, by the way, took place during Christmas 2022. So they're talking about the end of 2023. Fergus says, "We just have to see what's going on. That's the best way to say it. There's nothing in the plans, nothing on the piece of paper that says that, but I'll stick to what I said before. I would love to make another Fallout before I retire. I don't know when that is. I don't have a date on my retirement. It's funny, you can say I'm already 52 or only 52. It's one of those two depending on the day. My hope is that it'll happen, but we'll have to wait and see," end quote. My man's putting it out there. He's putting it out there. Like he wants this bad, whether, he's making it clear to Xbox or not. As a fan, I think he's sending a very specific message with saying this twice now.
Yeah, this is twice. Shout out to, I love Fergus's energy, and I just love the fact that he's so passionate about it. You know what I mean? So we know like where they rank as far as their addition to the series with New Vegas. I think it's happening, bro. He's what's the expression? You speak it into existence.
Yeah, he's manifesting.
Yeah, he's manifesting right now. So they ain't gonna get in the room. If not already been talking. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a tea leaf, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just feel, how could you say that twice now with some level of comfort and not think about like, oh, I might be making Bethesda uncomfortable or I might be making Xbox uncomfortable. It's like there had to be, as Jeff Grubb had reported, like some semblance of a talk of, do we want to do this eventually? That doesn't, as he said, mean it's happening now. I don't think it's happening now. But there had to be a conversation where him going out and saying this, developers have a respect for one another, and he knows the pressure it would put on Bethesda. And especially when Obsidian even got out ahead of the Metacritic complaints when New Vegas dropped, they were supposed to get a Metacritic bonus from Bethesda, and they missed by 1 point. And they got ahead of any criticism that came to Bethesda. It was like, no, it's not a big deal. So they've always been a very nice partner, it would seem. So I feel like they wouldn't do something inconsiderate that would put Bethesda in a position to maybe defend themselves. So I have to think, just like you, some level of conversation, small or big, has happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, because again, it would technically be speaking out of pocket if there was no conversation. Like, yo, I want to make your game. Now, before I want to make your game from your studio.
Yeah.
One time, okay, dream. 2 times, like, bro, it's like if let's say Todd wasn't with it, like you got to roll up on Obsidian if you Bethesda, like, bro, like this is the second time, my guy. Like,
yeah, and there was a significant gap between these two interviews where enough to deliver a message. I think 3 times the charm here, right? If he does it again, it's going to be like, okay.
Speaking into existence, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that's what's going on with Obsidian right now. But also, they're seemingly finishing something by the end of 2023 where they feel comfortable moving on to the next thing. This is anybody's guess, right? You'd have to think probably Avowed, just because Grounded seems like the one that's going to get the continuous support.
Yeah.
The Outer Worlds is, we'd assume, a little bit further away, even though it started development right after the first one came out. You'd still have to think that given the cadence of showing them off, Avowed should be ahead in the timeline. So to me, this does sound like maybe a Q1, Q2 2024 Avowed situation.
Yeah,
if I were to be a betting man, I would say that's a safe one. It would go against my fantasy draft, but
yeah, I was about to say.
Information is power here on Defining Duke, so I will override my draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it would seem like Avowed should be next up. I did hear rumblings that Outer Worlds 2 is way further than we think. You know what I'm saying? I mean, farther along than we think, based on the development and stuff like that. But, and even if it maybe they don't want to have Outer Worlds go so fast. Who knows? To me, it depends on it depends on the next time we see Avowed and like how it looks. And we're gonna get a better sense of how far along it is.
So we will see. In the meantime, next bit of news here comes from Guy Welch, who is Xbox's marketing director. He has shut down the rumors of a Gears 6/Gears Collection logo that was floating around the web, and he said it is fake news. So for those who were hoping for more on that, that's what's going on there in the terms of at least the logos. So
gotcha.
I still think it's obvious they should do a Marcus Phoenix collection at some point in time. I don't know why, as we're in this significant gap between 5 and 6. We aren't getting that, but fingers crossed we eventually do.
Hope so.
All right. Next, in regard to the layoffs happening at Microsoft, that was our main headline last week. Kotaku shared an internal email from Phil Spencer on what he had to say following the announcement of the impending 10,000 layoffs hitting Microsoft as a whole by the end of March 2023. He writes, quote, "This is a challenging moment in our business, and this week's actions were painful choices. The gaming leadership team had to make decisions that we felt set us up for long-term success of our products and business, but the individual results of those decisions are real. I know that hurts. Moving forward with ambiguity is challenging, but I am confident together we will get through this difficult moment in time. I am confident in our future and proud to be a part of this team, but also conscious that this is a challenging time. I want to thank you for everything you do here." End quote. So pretty powerful letter here, but also, again, we talked about this a lot on Sacred Symbols Cross-Defining Duke.
Yes.
Saying that this is the best for long-term results. You saw who got hit the most, 343. And so we're going to talk about them a lot this episode. They're our second headliner in the episode. They'd definitely be number one again if it were not for the developer direct, because there's been some significant reports coming out of this. But any thoughts on what Phil had to write here?
I mean, look, these type of conversations are not easy, and to me, you're in a lose-lose because no matter what you say, people lost their job, right? So
very true.
Right now, it's kind of like, the way I look at it as a whole, big tech, they've had 10,000. I forget the numbers with Amazon. I forget the numbers with Google, but, they're comparative. And companies and Meta, as well. So companies are slimming down. And like you said, we'll get into 343 later, but, the target is always going to be what they consider redundant positions or underperforming sectors of the business. So, this is just what it is. And unfortunately, there's nothing he's going to say that's going to make people feel better about the job loss.
100%.
The last thing I'll say is just about the economy, the macroeconomics aspect of it, and that we're seeing companies as a whole slim down right now because of the potential, let's say, overconfidence of that last market in a COVID world where the profits were up and people were thinking this trend's going to continue, and now things have kind of normalized. So you're seeing across the board, it's like, whoop, kind of thing. So it's unfortunate, but that's what it is. But at least there was some empathy there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Just a quick one here. I'm sure as people already know and will know by the time this show's out, but I still want to make sure it's addressed and accounted for that Turn 10 will be having a Forza Monthly on January 26th. So again, it'll already be out by the time the show even hits the patron feeds. Next, more pressing perhaps, is that Squanch Games has announced that Justin Roiland submitted his resignation. Squanch Games also says that they will continue to develop games and support High on Life. Now, separately, Adult Swim has announced that they have cut ties with Justin as well. Brandon Bonacorsi writes in, "Hey, Daisy Dukes, with Justin Roiland resigning from Squanch Games, do you think Xbox will still work with them to develop a sequel? Will they even be able to replace the charm and success of the first one without Justin at the studio?" This is a great question that we got an answer to really quickly. We talked about it just last week. We went over everything that was happening surrounding Justin Roiland, and people were asking, what does this mean for, say, High on Life 2 or whatever Squanch Games does? And our call was, if Justin's in the picture, you got to pull out. Just like based off, we know how these big corporations function. They don't want to be tied to that type of mess because it becomes their mess because they're associated with it. But now he's out of the picture. Do the games have that allure that maybe they, do they have the allure without him? Is what I'm trying to say, right? Like he brought something to the table prior to all of these allegations and accusations and crimes that are being announced. There was something there to invest in, but them as a development team alone, Cog, do you see them being something that Xbox wants to invest in for another game?
I'm not sure about this. I think this is devastating to that studio. I mean, again, I'm just looking from the outside in. I don't know the inner workings here, but it gave, whenever you would see them together, you always see them together, right? You always see when they're talking about the game, presenting the game, and that synergy, right? And then that's what kind of made Rick and Morty what it was. And then you see this kind of translate into gaming. So, that's kind of like, the way I look at it, it's kind of like the heart and soul of it, right? So It's unfortunate what happened because it's like, I don't want to disrespect his partner, but it's like, can you recreate that magic? That's a huge challenge now, separately to go on by yourself when you're man and you got this perfect. It's like me, it would be the equivalent, just, being hypothetical. Like me and King made a studio and we made a game, right? And it's the essence of our back and forth and our foolishness. And then King is now not with the studio and he can't. Now there's a part of me that says, yeah, he's not part of it, but he can kind of influence it behind the scenes. So maybe it's that kind of a deal, but it will affect him. It will affect him. Now, to your question, Xbox is in a weird position because the PR spin is, if he was still there, you can't pick him up, pick up whatever. Now they may still be able to flip it, because they like, hey, we cut the cancer. You know what I mean? It's just this guy, but does the quality of the game remain the same? So my guess at this moment, again, until more information comes out, is they probably hold off now. I think this has damaged them. Squanch has this situation has damaged Squanch enough that Microsoft still may not be willing to give a bag. We may just do a little global publishing deal. But I will say this is the hope for them. If development on High on Life 2 comes back, and it looked popping, and it looked like they haven't missed a beat, and you best believe Microsoft gonna come in there. So now it's almost like they on a prove it deal for the next one again, just to kind of see. Funny. But yeah, that's my guess. That's my guess.
I'm leaning in your direction, but part of me says I think with Justin out of the picture, they're going to be more willing to listen. They still, at the end of the day, I think Squanch Games has to show something Xbox wants to invest in, right? I think that's the key. And I do believe if they say, well, we're going to do High on Life 2, I feel like almost Xbox has to, when that is the largest player base you have seen for a Game Pass game in the third-party capacity. You just don't, you finally stumbled across one. It's such bad luck for them, I guess, that this happens. But you got to imagine just by brand association, the way it was viral, as we had called on this show, that I think they'll, if it's a High on Life 2, I think they'll take the risk. If it's not, I think they will treat it like another third-party publishing deal and just, let's see what you got. Let's revise it. Okay, we're interested. Let's move forward. The good news for Squanch is like they're a proven talent now. Like they have made games. They made a big game for Xbox, a big exclusive for Xbox. I think that does put things in their favor to a degree where Xbox can hear them out a little bit more. But if it's different, they're going to be really trying to punch up above their weight. So we'll see how it goes. But I hope it works out for them because, for those who have worked hard on that game, even if it wasn't my cup of tea, to kind of get hit by this casualty inadvertently sucks, right? Like that's horrible for the team. So I do hope Xbox keeps an open mind with whatever they present to them. But I do think that's where I lean in your favor. They're going to be selectful on what they choose to partner up with.
Yeah, no, you got a good theory. And at the end of the day, you're still right that, the success of that game was so dramatic, so tremendous that it's hard to ignore, if they come back to the table in any capacity, especially to your point, now that they've quote unquote cut the cancer, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
The PR disaster for what, he's been accused of doing. So, yeah, I think you're onto something. Yeah. At the end of the day, corporations might still cooperate.
Exactly. I feel like both of us could be right depending on what day. And I think what also changes it is if they hit another big day one Game Pass game. I think right now they probably have to trust their process and say this won't be the only one we get, but this is probably a safer bet if it's a High on Life 2 to get another big deal type of game on the platform. So, I feel like it can go either way, truly, but we'll see. We'll see. And I'm pulling for Squanch Games as the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
All right, NBA fans, it's your time to bring the hoops action back to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet just $5 and win $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, for a limited time, whether you're a new or an existing customer, you can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Just head on over, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you get a free bet back. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, tell you that I'm an NBA fan. I'll watch a game, but I'm not a huge follower of the sport, I guess you could say. But what I do know is that DraftKings has always made it super easy to follow along with any games, get all the information you need, and know exactly what you're betting on. So, download the app now and sign up with code DEFININGDUKE. New customers can bet just $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make sure to use code DEFININGDUKE. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply, and the offer is void in Ohio. Make sure to see the show notes for details.
All right, next up, just wanted to highlight there are new S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 screenshots out in the wild. This game looks fantastic. And they continue to push on despite their circumstances with game development. And, I feel like as we're seeing more trailers, talk, screenshots, we got to be nearing some type of announcement of a release date. As I always say with this game, like there's no pressure for that given that this is being developed in the middle of a war. So I totally understand why there's going to be a delay. But I just feel like we're seeing so much of it, either in hopes of like, please don't forget because it's going to be a while, or I feel like they might be inching towards some type of at least release window that they can start to, focus in on.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like we're ramping, we're getting more. So, I think this is going to be one of those pleasant surprises, nice bucket list on that release cadence for 2023. Just a matter of when they finish, when they place. Yeah, but yeah, I get the sense. Probably. Yeah, I get the sense, it'll be on that roster this year. And they need it because they missed it from last year. They really were counting on this title, but obviously, real world events, real life situations, that kind of thing. So.
All right, next up, this one was an obvious one, but just wanted to make sure it was in the news cycle to confirm it following the developer direct. Aaron Greenberg had confirmed on his personal Twitter account that Xbox will be returning to LA for their annual summer showcase. We all assumed this was happening. We've talked about it on this show as if it was happening. They've just said it is officially happening. So you can keep an eye out for that. This was interesting because some people were reading between the lines on it saying what about Starfield though? What about the Starfield direct? Because Aaron Greenberg, let me get his exact tweet here. Hold on.
Let me pull the tweet up.
Yeah, let me see the exact wording was because I DM'd it to you and I was like, where's Starfield in this? He wrote, full show recap is out covering everything announced from Mojang Turn 10, Tokyo Gameworks, Zenimax Online, and Arcane Austin teams. Our teams are also working hard and look forward to sharing even more when we return to LA for our showcase this summer. And so a lot of people were kind of like, but you promised you were going to show us more soon. What do you mean this summer is the next time we're hearing from you? So I wonder if this is just an announcement tweet, but, are there tea leaves here, Cog? What are your thoughts?
This Starfield thing is very interesting, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going. There's a part of me now that I'm fully convinced part of this is fluid. Part of this is still fluid. It's month to month. Now we're going to get into the development of the showcase, and we learned more.
Yes,
I have some theories there when we get into that. But man, this is so weird. Like, when is that Starfield showcase happening? Now we've got, what is it, the Forza thing after, next month, the other Forza thing. We got Bethesda's going to do another thing again, Redfall. This is getting weird. When are they going to have time to put this Starfield showcase together?
They're filling out, bro. They're filling out.
Yeah.
I mean, rare thing. We have so much to talk about and think about and consider that something could sneak up on us while we're busy focusing on something else. So I just feel one day we're going to wake up and just like the Nintendo Direct, like, hey, Starfield Developer Direct, it's happening next week. See you then. And that's it.
Yep. I agree. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned indeed. GoldenEye 007. We've been staying tuned for that one for a while. And finally, it arrives on Xbox, also Nintendo Switch on January 27th. So free feed listeners, you already have this. It arrives with 55 achievements, totaling out to 1,000 gamer score. It's on Game Pass. It's also a part of the Rare Replay package now, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's finally here. They're finally dropping it. Someone actually wrote in, and I was ready to use it in case, but someone actually wrote in saying, how about that GoldenEye shadow drop? And you, my friend, were very close. Very close, but you picked the right week. So shout out to you. But yeah, GoldenEye 007 is out. So you can go ahead and try it out. Just remember that multiplayer only on Switch.
So Switch. It is what it is.
Yeah, I guess so. That robust multiplayer platform, Nintendo Switch.
Phenomenal. Latency, lag, low latency, lag free is just great. Full voice chat. Let me stop.
All right. Next up on the list, Atomic Heart. It has gone gold officially. So that February 21st release date is locked in, it would seem. So not much longer now. I'm excited for this one. It's kind of got BioShock elements to it.
Oh, yeah, a lot of BioShock.
Very in on what's happening, but it also kind of reminds me of Doom in a way. Maybe it's just because of the soundtrack and the fast-paced nature of it, but I'm keen to get my hands on this one. Atomic Heart looks great. Any thoughts on it going gold?
Oh, no, let's go. They ready. Yes, this is great.
Yes, sir. Let me just double check that release date. Hold on. I just want to make sure. I think it is February 21st. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't give the wrong info. This one, to the shock of no one.
Pulling out for the homies. Let's go.
Marvel Avengers got its final update. Let's read what they had to say. This is a message from Crystal Dynamics. To our amazing community, after 2.5 years and introducing 12 of Earth's mightiest heroes following update 2.8 on March 31st, 2023, we will no longer add new content or features to Marvel's Avengers. All official support for the game will end on September 30th, 2023. Even after the official support ceases on September 30th, 2023, both single and multiplayer gameplay will continue to be available. And they'll say, see below for more information. There's a whole chart on how things are going. They said, along with the end of development, we'll also be turning off the cosmetics marketplace when Update 2.8 launches on March 31st, 2023. Credits will no longer be purchasable, and all remaining credit balances will be converted into in-game resources to aid the ongoing adventures. Separately, they're also going to make all cosmetics that they were previously selling available to you. So that's a show of appreciation starting March 31st. They'll make all the game's marketplace, challenge card, and shipment cosmetic content available to everyone for free. No refunds, by the way, if you paid for it. So sorry to hear that, but like, also, why are you spending money on this game? I hate to say it. Like, I'm just, not even because it's a bad game, but like, it clearly was dying. Like, it's like spending money on 76 in a couple of ways, like years ago. It's like, why? Like, we have a strong feeling this might not go somewhere, but not here to shame anyone. Here to just talk about Marvel's Avengers and how it's closing its doors. So, Cog, I know you fired up the Wakanda DLC. You gave it the most recent shot. You were impressed, I think, by what was there to some extent, at least graphically so. So does this one come as a surprise all these years later that Crystal Dynamics might be moving on to Perfect Dark?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The team was heading over there.
Suddenly they got a little free time. Xbox is like, oh, that's a shame.
Right. Oh, you can't work on that, but work on our game now? Great. Here's this initiative hoodie to put over your Crystal Dynamics. You know what I'm saying?
New Jersey for you.
Yeah, we got New Jersey. Come on over. So look, this is a surprise to no one. We know this thing was dying. It was a mistake it's unfortunate because it was a mistake to be put on a tacked live service model, a tacked on, monetization model. Even the way the monetization was done with the suits and stuff, you could tell they would try to catch a wave. And it sucks because this game has hashtag just one energy. Mm-hmm. And from a graphical standpoint, I tell people all the time, like, this was one of the games that when I first got the new consoles, both the PS5 and Series X, I was like, yo, this is a looker. And even though it was a cross-gen game, I was like, this was the first one. I was like, yo, this is a looker. This looks phenomenal. So, yeah, and it told a decent story, except when it tried to, play 4 levels and then you can unlock the co-op for these select missions. And I was just like, what? Yeah, and the war table, and it's so convoluted, and I'm just like, no. So, yeah, it's surprising. Well, shout out to them for making things free. Yeah. I shouldn't say no shout out because it could be a legal thing. This would probably be a whole question. Folks doing bad. I see him tweeting.
I did see that as well.
Did you see that the Spider-Man will die exclusive?
Yeah, PlayStation is rubbing their mitts like, he'll always be with us.
End, you will not get that character. Now, full disclosure, you don't want Zumba Spider-Man that they got. Did you see that Spider-Man?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, bro, with the Zumba class movements and the terrible web swinging, it should be.
When I saw Fortnite web swinging doing it better, I was like, man, that hurts to see,
bro. If your name ain't Insomniac, I don't want to see your Spider-Man. I'm just going to be all the way with it. Unless it's in a co-op game, and keep your Spider-Man. Insomniac done shown, I know this ain't Sega symbols, respect to the boys. They shown how it's done. Mm-hmm. I repeat, do not put your Spider-Man out there because you're going to get embarrassed. Yeah. When I saw that, did you see them clips when they finally announced Spider-Man for Avengers? I was like, bro, you could have kept that to yourself.
It hurt, man. As a diehard Spider-Man's my favorite hero, so I was like, okay, like more Spidey, like, no, never mind. Nope.
Bro, I saw the childbearing hips with the Zumba movement, with this web swinging, and I said, no, cut it off. Rest in peace for the homie. I'm a Marvel fan, so it sucks, but I'll probably play it, finish it, and get it off my hard drive. I think it's like 100 and something gigs. Oh my, I'm in hard drive management.
Have that download. It's time, man.
Yeah, I'm bad. It's the Marvel in me. It reminds me of a game called Marvel Heroes that I really wanted to love.
Yeah, yo, me and you both. That game is so good. That game was so good. I can't believe this got greenlit, but that Marvel Heroes couldn't exist. But for those who haven't played it, Diablo style Marvel game. Imagine that. Free to play, so it did have a lot of monetization, but at its core, its very essence was a comic book style action RPG where you played as anyone. It was so good. I discovered it just at the tail end of its life cycle. I was so upset. It felt like the game that just slipped through my fingers and you can never get it back.
Diablo style MMO, all the characters, it was just so well done. And that actually was kind of like, if I remember, like a Justin Roiland situation. That's why I got shut down.
Wait, really?
Somebody at the studio did some foolishness, and Disney said, "We're no longer associating that. Effective immediately, this is removed from the store. You're off the project." And the game died, bro.
I always found it so weird. Yes. I didn't know that. I thought it was just no player count. Wow.
Scandal in there. Disney said, one of the top guys, and Disney said, "Nope, we're out of here." Yeah. So same thing.
Okay. You learn something new every day. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Marvel Avengers shut down. I remember when I reviewed this game, it's just like, it didn't feel good to play. That's the thing is, I think superhero games are all about feel because they're so specified in their move sets and you need to capture that with animation, with flow. It depends on who you're talking about, right? Like Spider-Man's like flow and rhythm. Captain America is like power, defense oriented. You just didn't get that with any of these heroes. You had moments where I think Black Panther did look fun and unique, but a lot of the characters they added to the game were what you would call echo fighters, right? Like the same moveset, but a different character model. And Avengers had a lot of that. So I think that was kind of the shot in the foot and the sign that this thing was fading away and that they were hoping you wouldn't recognize that they were reusing heavily assets, which again, always happens in game development. Reused assets happen, but there's egregious levels and then there's intelligent levels of reusing it. So I understand they can't make a new everything constantly, but this game seemed to be fading out for a while now. And especially when the partnership happened between the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics, the big question was like, we know Crystal's a big studio, but like, how long can they balance these two at the same time? Eventually, if you're Xbox, you want that to tip in the favor of your project. And here we are now.
Absolutely.
We also know they're working on Tomb Raider. So yeah.
Yes.
So there was a lot for them to balance. Something had to go, I think.
Low key, that's one of the studios I wished Xbox could acquire because they would solve my hashtag just what, and just the style of games they make. Yeah. Graphical fidelity, usually third person, over the shoulder, narrative. Like
I'm still holding out for Compulsion. I feel like they're going to be your answer. I don't know what kind of game they're making. I don't know why. I get just one energy from them.
It's definitely third person. The question now, it's only one thing I'm worried about is the production. Is it truly AAA? Because lately I've been getting a little disappointed when guys like, hey, I'm working on this. And then when it's time to go, this is my passion project. And I'm just like, I love indies. COG loves the indies. Let's be clear.
Bombastic, high budget title.
People, we're going to get into hi-fi, people coming at me on my timeline, and I'm like, I get it. Y'all want this hashtag just was so bad, but there's criteria. One of them is AAA high graphic for the budget. You know what I'm saying? That's all. And that's my only worry with what Compulsion's doing, but everything else seems to check the other check boxes. So we'll see.
This was a pretty significant day one Game Pass launch last year, and it's really stumbled out of the gate. Warhammer 40K Darktide, it continues to be a bit of a nightmare for developer Fat Shark as the PC version is in a pretty poor state, and the now delayed console version has been pushed back even further. Here's what they write on their personal blog, quote, "Over the next few months, our sole focus is to address the feedback that many of you have. In particular, we will focus on delivering a complete crafting system, a more rewarding progression loop, and continue to work on game stability and performance optimization. This also means that we will delay our seasonal content rollout and the Xbox Series X/S launch. We will also suspend the upcoming releases of premium cosmetics. We just couldn't continue down this path knowing that we haven't addressed many feedback areas in the game today," end quote. I remember when I dropped my preview for this, I specifically said, like, the performance was bad. The game didn't look very good. Something felt very off about it. Like, it just wasn't high quality. And the game was coming out soon. This is the only preview I ever got. I didn't get blasted, but a lot of pushback. Like, oh, dude, it's just a preview. It's just a beta. What'd you expect? Now look at it. I mean, this game was not in a good state on PC, and it still wasn't out on consoles, and it still won't be. And they didn't give a window for that. So just an update on what's going on with this game, because I was excited for Darktide. I love what Fat Shark does. Like, Vermintide was awesome. Vermintide 2 was also very good. I thought that this was going to be a slam dunk for Xbox. It makes sense, right? Like, let's get this Horde style, Left 4 Dead style game we did Back 4 Blood. Like, let's get Fat Shark, who is probably the second best in my eyes in doing these Horde style games. It was a Xbox console exclusive, by the way. So that's why this is all significant here. But they have yet to deliver the goods. So I'm imagining Xbox isn't very pleased with that. But Cog, your thoughts on the status of Warhammer 40K Darktide?
Yeah, not much to add. I'm going to defer to mostly you playing that beta or whatever, and not being really impressed. And I'm usually a little concerned when it's like on PC, because generally when you get it on PC, it's the best representation of the game, right? And it's just like, man, it didn't really hit there. So look, it's supposed to have come out for a while, right? The development is kind of now messed up. I got a funny joke.
Oh, let's hear it.
Like, saying, like, I hope the budget ain't had nothing to do with Mr. Cavill. I'm joking. They had nothing to do with Mr. Henry Cavill making that movie, but it's just fun. I just thought it was funny. Like, now we got problems. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you sign Henry Cavill for the Netflix, I mean, ever since he went from the Witcher joint. But shout out to Henry Cavill. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. I'm concerned, though. I am concerned that your PC representation ain't really running good, and now we don't know when we get in the console joint. Yep. So I guess we will see.
We will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just a couple more bits here. We'll get into what we're playing. Mac Walters writes in Mass Effect 2 and 3's lead. He's the Mass Effect 2 and 3 lead writer, I should say, as well as Dragon Age Dreadwolf's production director, and he has left BioWare after 19 years with the company. He writes, quote, "With a new year comes new adventures. As some of you already know, at the end of last year, I decided to leave BioWare. These past 19 years have been the most life-changing experience that I've had, and to say the least, it made the choice difficult to go." Oh, wait, did I misread that? It made the choice very difficult to go. I've worked with so many wonderful people and had the privilege to be part of the most amazing teams and projects. It's hard to fathom it all, and I know I'll be reflecting on it for years to come. Thank you to everyone I've had the joy of working with, and I wish everyone at BioWare the very best in everything you do. It's truly been a pleasure, end quote. This is a significant departure. This one thing that we didn't mention in his credits is he was the project director for the Legendary Edition, which kind of like was the hope restoring moment for BioWare in recent memory. Like that. Yes. Oh, okay. Like, right. This is why we love them. This is why we care about what they make. Right. I remember now. So yeah, when it comes to this departure here, I mean, Mass Effect 2 and 3 lead writer, that's a big deal, right? This is kind of the guy who followed up Drew Karpyshyn after Karpyshyn was out of the game, right? Like, I mean, this was a very important member of this staff. So a significant loss. Best of luck to Mac, of course. He certainly earned that time off and that ability to go chase his dreams or whatever. But Cog, any thoughts on more on the big BioWare departures that are occurring?
Yeah, legend in the game, absolute legend, Mac. He's been there for a long time. A mix, because part of me is like, bro, been there for 19 years. You know what I mean? That's a long time. So, is it necessarily significant of the fact that, oh my God, it's hell in the studio and, he's got to get out of there because he can't take it anymore, kind of thing. It could be, but it could be, 19 years. We just talked about, what's my man from, I always forget, is it Matt Brown or the one from Playground that just left? And he was there. I always forget, it's a Brown, but I always forget his first name. Yes. Yeah. And it's like, is it that situation where it's like, hey, you just want to do something different. You've been kind of entrenched for a while and another opportunity comes up and then you kind of, jump ship and you want to do something. Who knows?
Mike Brown, by the way.
Is it Mike?
Mike Brown. Yep.
Mike. There we go. Yep. Mike Brown. Salute to him. So it's like, a lot of these guys have been entrenched doing it for long years. His guy's resume is phenomenal. We already know. So it could be just that, could be getting close to retirement, could be burnt out. Don't know. One would think that someone has been there as long as him, though, they know his processes, when he runs a project, there's a cadence to how Mac do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that kind of, usually that filters in and is the next man up when someone's been that long, kind of entrenched. So that's what we're going to hope. I just hope this, my only concern is for Dreadwolf. That like that is my baby. I want to see. I'm one of the few people that like Inquisition, and I beat it, and all 5 of us. But
a lot of people actually love that game. I hope I don't make you feel like you're on an island.
No. People love that everyone game. Makes me feel like that. It's not just you. Everyone's like, bro, that's the whack one.
Yeah, I mean, it is in comparison to the rest, but it's technically not a bad game.
Yeah, I was one of the few that liked it. So I really got wrapped up into the story of the Dreadwolf as when you end it. So I really need them to nail that. And I just hope the transition plan to whoever's next up is intact and not anything in shambles, because everything's counting on that Dragon Age, that new one. Everything's counting. That's a lot of pressure on them to get back to greatness, especially like you said, I didn't even know he did the Legendary Collection, which is phenomenal, which is the essence of what we love. So that's my concern, not necessarily BioWare as a whole. How is this affecting Dragon Age, the new ones? That is where I'm at.
Exactly. I'm in the same exact position as you, because Dreadwolf is that sort of back against the wall. We need to nail this in. And they're almost going through a transitionary period as they are trying to deliver this game. Like big people are leaving, new people are stepping in. Like they just got the lead writer from the Guardians of the Galaxy game to marry, I think I forgot her name, but they got her for the new Mass Effect game. So they're getting great talent in for the future and setting the right standard internally, but they're kind of like always ebbing and flowing as they go through this transitionary period. So that's where my main part of concern lies. As a production director, let's say this game is to come out at the end of this year or into next year, which is what has been reported. It sounds like they'd probably be deep enough where maybe his services are no longer needed. Like he did his part and it's like, okay, this is mostly steady, on to the next person who can start learning with, say, Mass Effect or something along those lines. That is my hope. It doesn't seem like this is an exit on any type of negative terms. And from what we can at least tell reading online about BioWare, what they say, their communication level, it has improved. Like Gary McKay, the new GM there, he has, from me as a big fan of BioWare, done a fantastic job at communicating with his fans, which is something that we've been asking for a while. Just here's where we are at with the game. Like here's the alpha milestone. Here's what that means. Here's what the developers are saying. They do a really good job. So I expect we'll see Dreadwolf this year. I think it's time to show it off. EA skipped all the summer showcases last year. So this feels like the year to kind of present it. And that's good news for Xbox fans because that means eventually Game Pass for it. So we'll wait and see. But that's what's going on with Mac Walters. Just last two tidbits here, and then we'll get into what games we're playing. Number one, CD Projekt Red, they've said that Phantom Liberty expansion, it's going to be more expensive than any Witcher 3 DLC. Now, they've clarified this doesn't mean bigger, it just means more expensive. So you have to imagine like Idris Elba might have a bit of a hand in that one. Like, I don't come cheap, man. But
they just ran the budget up, man.
But I find this to be a fascinating risk given what happened. Like, I understand now we're in the resurgence period, but it's still like you'd think a risky bet. Like, oh, let's have our most expensive expansion in company history with this fucking thing that almost flopped. Yes, like that's it.
Good point.
But I like the idea. I like the ambition. I like the energy, and I'm still very excited for Phantom Liberty. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, okay, ballsy. I mean, I always tell people like Cyberpunk was profitable. It just wasn't as profitable as it should have been, because it made all its money back with pre-orders. It was just afterwards. Like they just could have made millions and millions of disgusting amounts of money. And they made a lot still, but not as much.
No, you're right. They had the world in their hand before launch. Like everyone, it was one of the most highly anticipated. People were tuning in them night cities. Anything they dropped, any tidbit, people were like, "Yo, Cyberpunk, bro!"
Yeah.
Like it was. They had it. They had it, and then we know what happened.
We know
at
what
least they
happened.
researching.
Yes. Last thing here. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, its next gen update. It is out now, but it still isn't available on Xbox. Now, Bandai has said as of January 20th, they're still working on it. As of the time of recording, I double checked right before this, still nothing. Still no updates, still no next gen version out. So I don't know what's going on here, but they have communicated they're working on it, but no noise around this, which I think, again, is very telling of the Japanese support on Xbox's platform. So I just wanted to acknowledge that's something that's happening. Now, Cog, we get into what games we're playing, my friend. And it's been a busy week for both of us, it seems. You have an interesting lineup here. I see a missing game, which I'm very perplexed by. Maybe you're in that wind down phase where you're like, okay, I know I'm going to go hard in February, so it's time to do some cleanup. So, Cog, let's talk about what games you've been playing.
You nailed it. That's why I'm not playing Destiny.
Okay.
You nailed it. Because I had to wind down, and then they actually had some technical issues really going on, but that didn't affect me too much. I blazed through all the major stuff that I needed to. I got all my stuff. I'm ready. You know what I mean? Ready? So I said, okay, I got what I need to get. So I fired up. Like I told y'all last week was Game Pass pick of the week was Monster Hunter Rise. I told people I want to give it a shot, a legit Monster Hunter game. So here's Cog's assessment.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So graphically, this is an up-res Nintendo game. like it's not like, we got to be real. Like this is, it was juddering in the title screen, and I was like, oh, okay. So I put it on performance mode first. I went right to the thing, put it on performance mode. First of all, I gotta admit, this game has a charm to it, though. It's a charming game. Like, I like, first of all, the Cog the Ninja. I get my suit up, making my character. Comes out his little bandana. Then you talk to the little Wolverine kind of boss that's running the city or whatever. And then I thought it was cute. I got my little cat, you know what I'm saying? I hooked my cat up, got my dog, you know what I'm saying? And I ride it. Like, it looked like this thing it's so charming that it feels like it had its own anime show. Like, I was supposed to know these characters, right? This car getting into it. So they teaching me about mission and structure and stuff like that. Now, the beauty of the game is the hunt. Like, I'm not a hunter. I've never hunted in my life. I don't know anything about hunting. I'm an urban kid. But this is what I think people who are into, like, hunting for real probably would like. Okay. So, you're going around, you're gathering your resources, you're putting together, then you're like, I was like, damn, I'm chasing, I'm tracking the beast, right? I was like, okay, he's on the map. This way he at. All right, cool. Then I seen him and we ran down. He roughed me up. We had to run. And I was like, okay, let me go heal up. Now, the only thing that I'm struggling with, because I'm a Monster Hunter noob, is someone's going to have to tell me about, like, the food situation. Like, the food thing wasn't properly explained to me. So when I went, I did all the tutorials, but I was like, my thing was just like, my man's getting very hungry. And I'm like, yo, I got something in my item box. Why can't I just eat it? So I guess I got to cook, concoct, mix. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that part, I didn't realize there's more of a depth with the crafting.
Yeah, and you have to equip it and, like, actually bring it out and eat it. Yeah.
Which then is when the issue started to arise for me. It's control. It's so, like, I understand you could do the swing movement and dip around, but even that is like hold left trigger, then press X. It's like, why can't it just be one button though? Like, why I gotta do all this?
Yeah. I agree with that.
And then it's like, okay, you got your Y slash, and then you got your right trigger slash. And I go front, like, maybe I'm just whack, man. I'm doing it wrong. I just felt like it was just clunky, the control. And if the control just tight, maybe I'm not gonna give up on it because I do like it. There's a satisfyingness, like as the hunt goes on, it's almost like phases of the boss fight. Then the creature then gets hurt, starts to run around. Then you got to chase it down some more. It's an adrenaline rush, and I get it. And then I like true hunter thing when you kill a beast, we gonna slice you open. We gonna get your skin. We gonna I like that. I've never hunted or anything, but I get why someone would love this. So look. It's probably not a COG game fully, but I do recognize the charm and I recognize the fun to it. They would have had me if the control was a little more tight.
Have you tried other weapon types, or have you just kind of stuck with one?
I've tried just the big, I call it the Buster Sword, like, the big joint. So maybe I got to try something.
Try something a little swifter.
Okay,
like I told you. Remember I said like the dual blades?
Yeah, you're right.
I think whenever you dive back in, give like a quicker weapon a try. Because for me, I feel the same. Like I've tried the big and heavy, and I'm just like, yeah, this feels weird. Yeah, the controls, you fight with them a lot because you're pressing something that doesn't feel too responsive because the animations are so long. Try something quicker because that's. I think when we talked about this last week, I was like, yeah,
you did say that.
You'll feel that responsiveness.
Okay.
If you don't like it, then I mean, it's not like it's going to disavow your criticism. It's just
actually like it.
Nice. Yeah, I think you'll like it even more then if you get something quicker, because that's what clicked with me is I understand why people did like the kind of heave ho Monster Hunter style combat, but for me, I'm like, I want to get around, man.
I want to dip, but I want to get quick and
try something a little more nimble then. I think you'll like it.
And I actually like the wall running and the traversal.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
It's really, and I like when you get on your dog and you're like, yeah, we're going to get him. Let's go. Come on, fighter. We're going to get him. Like, I love that. Like, that shit is fire. So you got that. Second thing is, all right, sometimes you have friends who are really, really bullies, peer pressure friends.
Yeah. What's going on with the second game here?
Bro, this is what my friends do. Shout out to my man Sinister. Shout out to my man DJ Oros. These savages, when they know I am not going to play something, I'll just be on and you'll be like, message from Xbox. You just received Call of Duty Warfare. I'm like, oh my, they are trying to get me to play with them. So it's like, as that friendship rule, if your man gift you the game, it's the unwritten, you got to play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, come on, you said, because all they doing is playing Modern Warfare. So I'm like, all right. So I did the Warzone, the classic Warzone first. And needless to say, COG skills are trash.
Oh no.
But it was so bad. Literally, first of all, shout out to the cinematic when you get ready. Like it is the most dude, bro. Yo, bro, we ready to fly out the plane? Yeah, bro. Yeah, fist pump, bro. Serious face, serious pose, cinematic vibe. Like you gotta see Warzone has a production getting ready to jump out the plane. Like it is the funniest. This is the most toughest dude, bro game, and you gonna like it. So I'm like, why is everybody so tough? Like, what? It's just mad extra, right? So I'm like, I already know what the demographic is for this. So I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. So you get there, see car going down. Like, all right, so where y'all gonna go? You gonna go there? You died. I'm like, bro, I didn't even land 2 boots on the ground. Somebody smoked me coming down in the parachute. I'm like, that was my first experience. Now, then I'm fighting in the what they don't kill me, LSM fan, because I always butcher this pronunciation. The gulag. I don't know how you pronounce it. I call it the goulash because it sounds funny. So
we can roll with that.
Threw me in the goulash already. I'm like, come on, man. So needless to say, it's fun, but COG's fast twitch. I can't deal with these kids playing these games. Like the whole
you do PvE in Destiny for a reason, right?
And what's funny is I play PvP in Destiny, but I think what it is in fairness to the hardcore, Destiny has a lot of aim assist in their PvP, so it makes it a little easier. You know what I'm saying? But this,
I've seen modern COD kids, bro. Like it's not like an age thing, man. Just when I grew up with COD in my teens, I definitely had those reflexes, and I don't think they're really gone. But when I watch kids play nowadays, they're like quick twitch checks around corners. I'm like, how does your brain process what you just saw? I don't know. They're on a different level, man. They're just on a different level now.
Yeah, I'm the old dude on the basketball court, and these kids are just spinning around me. Yeah. So I'm just like, all right, I did that. Now, I will say we did DMZ. DMZ was fun. DMZ was more COG speed, which is like, okay, PvP, PvE, where it's me and my 4, we're going down, we're going getting our little objectives. There's AI enemies where you get the chance to shoot back, you're not instantly dead off the rip. Shout out to the AI, you know what I'm saying?
Feeling great shooting those Titanfall 1 bots, like, yeah, I got him.
it wasn't that bad. You could get bodied, but it's like, I felt like, okay, this is more by speed, and it had objectives, it was fun. So I did. So shout out to that. And then I will get the campaign, or apparently people say the campaign is really cool. So I'll get my 1,000, whatever. But I did play it finally. It's off the checkbox. So all my Modern Warfare fans can leave me alone. That's done. And then last is still Crisis Core. Okay. Yo, I'm starting to fall in love with it. Nice. I'm now getting into the depths of materia fusion. And it gets deep. So I'm mastering my little materia. I got now I did some joint where I got I did a thunder. I got this air physical attack. Sword physical attack spin joint. And I mastered that. And then I put it with a thunder material. So now it has this thunder effect anytime. And now I'm on my, okay, I got this material that snitches and tell me what some of the weaknesses are. And bro, you start to really get into a flow. So I got my long distance with my fire material. I got, bro, the summons. I'm getting my summons. I got my different. I got the old enjoy. I got I'm starting to cook. Nice. And now the story's starting to really heat up. Genesis, Sephiroth. Yes, sir. It's really starting. And then Zach's changing on me. Hey, you ain't so happy-go-lucky right now, huh? Yeah, you starting to see the scar. Yeah, you starting to see the dirt. And then I'm learning do the secondary stuff that the game will tell you to do. Because a lot of times you'll get bonus stuff. But the other thing is what I'm realizing, I got to grind. You got to grind missions for some of them, Joyce. So I'm having fun. I'm just taking my time with it because I'm actually in the mission grinding thing because I don't want to, I'm actually enjoying the story a lot. I don't want to speedball. I'm actually doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and getting that game quick if you don't do any of those side missions.
Right. And people are telling me yo, you want to hold more equipment. There's more bonuses when you do the other stuff. So I'm just knocking out, and there's each day about 2-3 levels at a time. So shout out to Crisis Core, still loving it. But yeah, that's been it. And you've been playing something very controversial. Oh yeah, your tweets are kind of breaking the internet lately.
Oh yeah, aren't they?
Said controversial games.
Yeah, it's been fun. So I've been reviewing 2 games this week. One contentious, one that as I record this, reviews aren't out. But the embargo will be lifting at the time the show actually goes live, which is pretty cool. So I can talk about it, which is Forspoken and Dead Space Remake. And I got a lot to say about both of them. Forspoken, I did get that remake. I was very pleased with getting my hands on that because you know me, I was curious as all hell, and we'll talk about it. But
let me be quiet.
I want to spend a lot of time talking about Forspoken because this was an interesting controversy, to say the least. Now I'm going to do things a little bit differently because as you were talking, I just took a glance at our warm-up questions and I picked them because they had to do with Forspoken. I was like, why don't I just round them together? It'll kind of trim a little bit of our show, but it'll make it where we can just get to also the developer direct a little bit quicker.
No doubt.
So David Fortunato II writes in, hey, Soy Boy, Matty, and Milk Boy Cog. This question is mainly for Matty, but please, Cog, chime in. Matty, with your Forspoken dialogue tweet going viral, why do you think so many are defending that particular clip? Every tweet I've seen about Forspoken seems to be mentioning how cringe it is, except for the responses to your tweet. Love the content, boys. Keep on protecting those ears. Thank you, David. Yeah, so this is where I wanted to start off because before I even get into the game or anything, and we did talk about this also on Sacred Symbols Cross-Defining Duke, so I don't want to like double up too hardcore here, but I reviewed Forspoken. I had it about a week-ish ahead of launch, so I had a lot of time to play it. And I posted this tweet of a clip from the game of the dialogue that I literally the caption was, this is actual dialogue from Forspoken. And the actual had asterisks on the side of it, like actual dialogue, like, whoa. And when I was playing it, I saw this moment. I was like, I'm posting that. I said, I need people to see this because I'm curious what the reception's going to be. And did I find out this clip? Let's get some data here.
Yeah, let's get the data.
Let's get some data here. This clip,
viral streets.
This clip has reached 7.2 million views on the video itself. Now, if we're going by Elon numbers, right? Tweet view count, 27.3 million people. Wow. I don't even say that to flex. I say that more so to say I got what I asked for. I was like, oh, I want to know what people think about this. And it made the rounds, no doubt. And like David had written in, there were a lot of people who were writing to me like, it's not that bad, bro. There were also a lot of people writing to me how bad it was. And it was extremely divisive. Now, I want to offer my thoughts to the game as well. But David, why are people defending this clip? I think it's a mixture of a couple of things. Number one, some people did genuinely see it and go, that's not that bad. Again, I didn't post it to be like, look how terrible this is, or else I would have said that. I would have been like, this is how bad the dialogue is from Forspoken, which I talk about in my review. But I was like, Twitter's not the place for that nuance. I was like, this is actual dialogue. So some people actually don't think it's that bad. That's fine. I think you're seeing more people defend it because my tweet definitely made the most rounds of anybody else who posted for that game. So that's a big reason why you saw more defending it, because there's just more people talking about it. But other than that, I think number two, people want to see a game punch above its weight. Cog, you leaned into this a bit for defining Duke cross Sacred Symbols, and I think it meshes in Michael Buffalo's question a bit here, because we're going to talk a bit about race and gender and the importance of Frey as a main character. So Michael Buffalo writes, hey Dukes, this question is more for Cog, but please, Matty, add your thoughts. With Forspoken performing rather bad, do you think it hurts the chances of future projects featuring a minority protagonist with development studios? For every success like Miles Morales, Colt in Deathloop, and even the Gunk, which I thought was pretty good, it seems the failures sometimes hold more weight. Thanks for all you guys do. Now, I wanted to bring this all together before I lean into it because I feel like you're, of course, the best representation for that topic. I feel like what I say does hold little weight in that regard, because to get into the tweet a little bit, the reason it's relevant is there were, we'll just say, suggestions of people not approving of this clip based off skin color or gender, ethnicity, all that stuff. So, Cog, if you would not mind, just setting us up a little bit so that we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And this one obviously, hits home. Obviously I feel I'm qualified, at least on some level, to talk about it as a black man, even though technically the person who should have the most say should be a black women, on this. But I feel I'm qualified. Look, be brutally honest, when I first saw Forspoken at one of the, Sony State of Plays, I got excited, man. I was just like, you know what? Black female protagonist, graphically, from what we saw then, it looked really good. And I was like, okay, they're trying to do something different, spell casting, traversal. Okay. I was one of the few that was like, yo, I'm rooting for this game. Full disclosure. And yes, there is a part of me as a black man that wants this game to succeed, right? But I gotta be real, right? When the luster started to come off, right? Is obviously, we know, shout out to Chris Ray Gun, one of the famous imitations of that promo trailer they put in. And I forgot the classic. Like, it was just classic.
That with my mind.
Move that with my mind. And the dialogue was really taking me out of this game. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, ooh, I'm not feeling that. Like, and I'm a type of person that if your dialogue is bad, your writing is bad, I'm out. Like, especially you saying corny and goofy things that I feel. And then the other thing is, what really took me out is I said, okay, maybe that was just a bad trailer. They didn't show the best parts of the game. Here comes the Forspoken demo. God, get the PS5, fire up the PS5, let's go. Throw it on. And it just didn't sync. Like, it was trying to be long distance spell shooting. But I'm like, damn, I wish I could get up and close. And they did have a couple of spells where you could make a sword and do that. But it just the world felt lifeless. It didn't move all the way to how I wanted it to move. So I'm just like, And that's why I just got to say, for me, listen, the character is supposed to be black woman from New York. No disrespect. I'm not saying every black woman is the same in New York, but the ones I know don't talk like that. So I'm just going to be real. Like, that's just, so I'm already like, it felt like someone from California is in New York. Like, I didn't feel like that's a New Yorker. That's one. You know, I didn't mention this on the cross, but someone brought it to my attention. And again, I'm not trying to get too racial. I don't really get too racial, political, sexuality. I don't really do that. But we have to talk about the game and what the controversy is happening around this game. Mm-hmm. And another thing someone brought to my attention is like, yo, did you see the backstory on said character? And I was like, oh no, criminal from New York. You know what I'm saying? So already, this is my gut feeling. And this is where I'm going to leave it at. There's a big part of the community that it was pulling for this game. Right? And that's okay. You can pull for it. But in the same token, in my opinion, you can't get mad at people when they dislike the game and automatically typecast them, well, you're racist because you don't like this game, or you're this because you don't like this game. Not everything is that one-to-one. There's some people that just like, yo, it's just not that good. It's not popping to me, fam. And that's it. And I just want to defend the people who are like, yo, you know, because you played the most of the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming you played the majority of it.
Yeah, I played it from start to finish. Yep.
Yeah, of course, typical Mr. Matt. Well, I don't ask. He's the one that kills me for not finishing. So it's like, I know you played it, and your breakdown on the cross was excellent. And I was just like, yeah, it's just not good. And I get it. Doesn't, to the question, does this hurt? You know, maybe, I don't know. Maybe this hurts. Maybe they were going for that. But I will say there are other examples of black protagonists that were done. I love Lee from The Walking Dead. Me and Mama Micah, we bond on that one. Yeah. Like, that right there is a great performance. We just recently... I
said Deathloop's performances are great. Hold on.
Okay, long performances, right? Performances. Yeah. So I'm like... Yo, Deathloop. So we got joints that Mafia's character, my man, you know what I'm saying? Lincoln Clay, GTA, my man, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's examples, you know what I'm saying? I think what it is in defense of my black female, they really wanted this one, not black. I'm just saying the community as a whole really wanted this to succeed, and it just didn't. So I'm seeing a lot of labeling. And that part's unfortunate, but I'm done with my part. I just wanted to qualify that and then give you the floor as far as your review and where you felt where the rest of Forspoken was.
I thought it was important to address for that, as well as, you know, there were some people suggesting in my direction, may I add, like misogyny or racism, just because I didn't like the dialogue. And we talked about this on
your life, bro.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people pulling at threads that I was having like that Thanos moment of like, I don't even know who you are. Like, I'm just like, I don't know you. And you're assuming some fucking heinous shit about me that I'm like, what? And so, yeah, I saw that. I saw Marvel writing. I saw High on Life was another one. I'm like, if you watched A Thing About Me, I said I really didn't like High on Life. I thought the dialogue was kind of funny at times, but I really wasn't crazy about the game. So, again, this is why I didn't post my opinion on the clip, because I was just like, I'm going to let my review do the talking. I got 20 plus minutes of me saying that. But the reason I bring all that to the forefront as well is it was particularly hurtful. And we did talk a bit about that on Constellation. Like, I think I carry myself well and I'm not an asshole. And when I saw people pulling that type of shit towards me, people who are in our industry with check marks next to their name, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was getting ready to start quote tweeting and putting names on blast. But I was like, you know what? This list is starting to get that long, and that's not the energy I'm about. So I just pieced out. I didn't even bother reading, and I started to get a kick out of it. I'm just like, wow, people would just throw what they want into Twitter and they just move on. And that's the type of energy I was receiving. I don't take it personally because, I don't really bother, but it was really that got under my skin. I was like, that's fucked, man. Like, that's a fucked up thing to say about someone, but especially about a clip, no less. But I digress. The game itself, more importantly, we used the tweet as the setup because there was just a lot of talk about it. And the game itself, it's a game about what could have been. Because I never really said like Forspoken is legitimately a bad game. It's got all the systems and things going for it that can make it do a great job and ascend to greatness, rather, I should say. For example, even the dialogue, like the dialogue is corny. And even the clip I posted could have been funny if that stuff was used sparingly. But this game has endless exposition, soaks up the script with so much dialogue, but tells very little story. They spend a lot of their voice acting budget, cutscene budget on just characters bullshitting. And I'm not exaggerating with that. It's not until the final couple of chapters in the game you really start to see Forspoken develop a little bit and start taking the characters around it a little more seriously. But by that point, any impact is gone. There's no surprise factor because everything around it is predictable. And it becomes very frustrating because the gameplay ties into that a little bit, where you have these systems that look great. You have magic parkour. You have all these magic spell sets, right? Cog talked a bit about it. There's 100+ spells in this game. You get different sets of them. You get like a melee set. You get an infamous style, like throwing rocks type of set. You get an electricity dart set. Like, you get crazy things, man. But the game is so rigid where it doesn't let you mix these spell sets into cool combinations. You have to flip to them, and they all are mapped to the same buttons. There are design issues like mapping the magic parkour button to the same finger that's going to be using your right analog stick. So you can't look around when you're doing this fast movement. That's problematic. They don't make use of the magic parkour in boss battles. If you look at my review, they're all in empty arenas, empty, wide open, flat arenas. And at one point they use like a pool of water and split up a bunch of rocks. And even that little use of it, I was like, that was better. But they never do it. It's just a troubled game from top to bottom, to put it simply. And I found it greatly frustrating because I think it's easy to pick on this game's dialogue, and it's, make no mistake, a big part of the problem. But there's a deeper conversation on the missed opportunities here, not only in the case of what you talked about, representation, making like a good game based around an unlikely protagonist in today's industry, but also the actual mechanics they have there are good. They were just all used poorly. Like, going from point A to point B, it's actually kind of fun. Like, you're zipping around. It feels pretty good when it's a nice open area and you don't have to rotate the camera. You're like, this is what it could feel like. But it just cuts itself off constantly, literally and figuratively, by the way. Like, there are times, there's so much dialogue in this game that I'll be moving around, they're talking, and I'll bump into a cutscene to more talking, and I'll get out and there's talking, and I'm running to my objective. They're still talking, and they don't even finish their sentence before another cutscene starts, and they cut themselves off. This happens all over. Even when I'm bullshitting, by the way, and I start up like, oh, let me do one of those fort activities. You can clear out like forts as a side activity. They're talking. I step in, cuts itself off because they got to show me something about the fort. And they start talking about that. And then I'm doing the fort, and they're bullshitting in combat, talking through everything that's happening. The fort ends, cut. More dialogue. I'm just like, holy shit. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's not, okay. We just talked about at the top of the show, Trails. Matty's got no problem with a lot of storytelling. Clearly, I played 7 Trails games, right? I played 7 of them. I got no problem with like, just take your time, deliver me the peak fiction. The issue is, again, they have this big script. They clearly had a budget to voice act this whole script. They just don't use any of the world and content within it as a narrative driving point. All of that's within, you talked about the backstory, right? A lot of that stuff is buried in written lore articles that you find in the archives or in little notes in houses. And I'm like, you have the budget. It's not like you didn't have a budget to tell a story, so you have limited cutscenes. You just didn't at all. And you had a miserable protagonist attached to it who is just like agonizing to be around. Like, she's not just a troubled kid. Like, she is just ruthless to everyone around her. And you know it's trying to be a coming of age story. But even by the end, she is still a selfish person. I'm just like, man, I just don't like this character at all. Like, not from a by design. It's like, no, they just wrote her terribly. And it's not the actress's fault. Actress performed pretty well. It was just like the writing is awful. Awful.
I just want to interject real quick because there's something I didn't mention in Constellation. Shout out to Gene Park. He had an interesting take on it. And he basically said, hot take, Amy Hennig's writing on Forspoken is not surprising to me because Uncharted had the same writing style. We were almost in that kind of a thing. And, he's saying, he's clarified that Hennig may not have written the script, but the point remains that he doesn't think that, because some people, when they go back to Uncharted, they feel like that's where a little disconnect, it doesn't hold up. And sometimes it has nothing to do, like you said, like we talked about a little bit on Constellation, with the actress, the actor, it could only work on what's given. So whoever wrote that is just a disconnect. And I'm gonna be honest, what you said, you even explained it better here, because I didn't realize it was that much banter between both cutscene going. That's a lot. And especially if it's not hitting and connecting and resonating. Listen, I always think it's a little interesting sign that they have a meter to turn down the banter. I think that's interesting. But yeah, I'll let you finish it, though.
Yeah, no, and the meter's there, but they even have a mechanic attached to it. Like when you finish certain objectives, she's like, hey, cough, and there's just a list of dialogue. And you can, by the way, back out of it, which is nice. Okay. To me, it's not the amount of banter. I like banter. Like, a lot of people go like, this is Marvel style writing. I like Marvel. I do. Like, you're talking to the target audience right now. This game should have synchronized with me. The fact that it didn't is a testament to how badly they messed it up. And I thought the comparisons to it, back to the tweet, when it came to like the clip, the dialogue, were bad faith as all get out. Like, some people are saying, oh, well, Deadpool, y'all tolerated Deadpool. Why can't you tolerate this? I'm like, Deadpool is all about satire. This game tries to take itself seriously. In the case of Marvel in general, I know we're talking about older Marvel. Many people would disagree with Phase 4, and I would be there with you. I think it's been a troubled phase for them. But before all of that, that style of writing, like, there was quality mixed in with it. There were serious moments mixed in with it. And it was typically used to provide levity so movies weren't so depressing. In this case, Forspoken is a depressing experience in the worst way imaginable. It's like, fuck, I'm playing this goddamn game, man. Like, I'm depressed. Like, that's the feeling you get from it. Not the, oh, man, like, this is a sad story. I need something to kind of, like, bump me up a little bit, because they're heroes, right? Forspoken just cannot capture that energy, because it's about earning respect too. Like, it does not have your respect. A writing team has to earn a respect and establish its world and its characters. And if people are going to draw it to High on Life, again, High on Life, top to bottom, satire, wasn't my big cup of tea, but it's not trying to be serious. Forspoken is. And last touching point. Some people said because it's PlayStation, I didn't like it. I'm getting a lot of creepy crawlers in the mentions saying
PlayStation bump.
They were like, well, they're on me. They're like, first Deathloop, now Forspoken. I see a trend. I'm just like,
yeah. That Matty plays. If it's a PlayStation exclusive, you're going to get that work.
Fuck Sly Cooper, man. Cloud Strife, who? I mean, come on, man. That's not what I'm about. So I got a good kick out of that one. But yeah, Forspoken, obviously, I gave a pass on my review. Other game I'm reviewing that I'm feeling, as we record this, I don't know what the Metacritic will be, but I'm feeling pretty good for my fantasy draft right now.
Let's go.
Okay. Y'all know Matty was worried. He was worried. But in the closing hours, as we approach Dead Space Remake, I was starting to peel around the corner a little bit. And I was like, all right, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Now, EA kindly provided me a review code, by the way, Forspoken, Square Enix review code.
Salute.
But I always buy my copies. I just need to make that clear
we
too,
know
by
you
the
get
way. I
down.
always buy my games that I review.
Man of integrity.
Okay. I'm prepared to put my foot in my mouth because EA Motive fucking killed it with the Dead Space remake.
I waited.
Yeah.
Let me hear this.
Yeah. I had this one wrong for sure. At least my initial gut feeling. I think it was well-founded, and I think that skepticism is fair. I'm not saying this to defend myself, but I think it's fair given I think the original is fantastic still. But they did a really good job of walking this line in Dead Space Remake of, we're not going to change everything, but we're going to change the things that you really weren't thinking about that may have nagged on your previous playthroughs. And there's a lot of changes, mind you. They kind of tried to market it as more of a, I would call it a purist remake. Like, we're not changing anything, but there are a lot, but that's not really a bad thing. Like, for example, the levels themselves are mostly the same. But you'll pull into like the hydroponics division and you'll need to open a door. And they have this new circuit breaker mechanic where you'll have like options on where the switch can go. And let's say it's like, okay, to get the power to that doorway, I need to can the lights. So you cut the lights and now it's dark. It's dark as all get out, but you got that door open now. And you start to hear crawling in the vents above. You're like, oh, stop. So the game gets a new set of scares, a new creep factor. And that's because of this game, man, the lighting, the effects add so much tension to the Ishimura as I'm like crawling around. I'm like holding up my flashlight. I'm like, bro, like this is, ooh, it's so good. It's so good. Like they redefined Dead Space horror for me because like, I've replayed these games so many times. I probably should have started with that. I've replayed Dead Space 1 tons of times. It's my favorite survival horror game. It's one of my favorite games ever, that and Dead Space 2. Like, Visceral did such a wonderful job. It was my survival horror game, man. So that's why I was very protective of it.
Of course.
But, dude, when they made it scary again, I was like, I never thought I'd be scared of Dead Space again because I've played it so many times, but they did such a good job. So there's the circuit breaker mechanic, there's little environmental details that you can see now. Like there's, beyond that, there's blood on Isaac's suit when he kills a necromorph. They got his stomp scream back. Like it's really loud now, which is what I love. The Dead Space 2, like, yeah, so good. And speaking of which, main character's voiced. Remember, Matty was worried about the story.
Yes, and the face. I want to hear.
Face, nah, like I didn't give a pass on that. Face stuff. But,
Peter Parker face. Continue.
Man's masked most of the game. It's a nitpick at this point in time. I don't know why they changed it, but again, I'm really not going to get beat up about it because like they got Gunnar Wright as the original voice. Great choice. He still sounds great as Isaac Clarke. He isn't extremely chatty. Okay, so like you're not going to get suddenly him running his mouth the whole time he's on the ship. You're not getting that here with Isaac. It's still like when you get your objective, they'll chat. And because of that, it brings more narrative details to the forefront. Like they talk more about the marker. They talk more about the unitologist. It's not like BioShock 1 style storytelling where they go like, oh, listen to these audio logs and you'll piece it all together. Like that's a special type of storytelling that I do like. But instead now, like Isaac and Kendra will talk and it'll start to bring together like what's happening with the unitologists, which are a pretty key narrative element. And they're introduced in Dead Space 1, but they really get their focus in Dead Space 2. Now it's a little bit different here. Now they're actually like a focus in Dead Space 1. So I think the change to a voice was good. I really do. I think it didn't intrude on anything. It didn't drastically change any scenes. The most dramatic changes are introductions to certain stages because now the tram system it's so cool. So instead of making it like the end of a chapter, you get on the tram and you go to the next chapter. Now the Ishimura is interconnected. And so you'll sometimes get on the tram and you can go back to certain sections of the game. You never were able to do that. So it's much more open-ended and explorable. You get these things like security clearances as you gradually progress in the game, and you'll be able to, scan like a level 3 security clearance and get into that unique room with all that loot that you typically couldn't get. So that's rewarding because they added new weapon upgrades. So you get like an additional ricochet on your Ripper. as like a special node on the upgrade station. They give you full control and zero gravity. Like, dude, they did a great job. Like I just, and now knowing they're moving on to, I can't believe I'm saying this, but now I know they're moving on to Iron Man. I'm like, no, wait. We got more to do here. We got more to do here. I'm like, wait. I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. Come back. That's the energy I'm giving them right now.
Baby, take me back.
Yeah. And, this was, what a whiplash, right? I went from Forspoken, which I'm like, no, to like this round. Yes. But what I'll say to those of you who are me, like old school fans, love the original. I think you're going to be pleased. And there's enough changes here where it felt new. Like I was on edge. There were moments where I was like, it was familiar. Like if I were to put a ratio to it, like 70-30 would probably be the number I use. Like 70-30%. 70 is what you know. 30% is what you didn't know. But that 30% are the little things that don't interrupt the big stuff that you love. Like there's still audio-driven storytelling as you hear like Isaac, like whispers in his ears. You still get that type of energy, right? But you get the things like the circuit breakers, which make levels more interesting. It's like, oh, I know this area, but I didn't know it in the pitch black. And now I got to find my way around here. When I'm telling you, man, when you see this fucking thing with two pincers above its head crawling out of the darkness at you, sheer terror. I'm like, and these dudes are, speaking of pincers, good at pincer attacks. Like I'll be backing up, like unloading, and I just see this like thing hanging over my shoulder. I'm like, whoa, and I'll just run away. It's great, man. It's great.
Yeah. That's fine.
They did a good job, man. They did a good job. So
from you,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, they did. And again, bend the knee fully, put my foot in my mouth fully. But as of this time, I don't know what the reviews are going to be, but I expect them to be very positive because it's still, we're talking about one of the most definitive survival horror games of all time. And now it's, I think, been remade to be arguably the definitive version. I need to run through it a couple more times, get a feel for it. But man, I was like, when I was playing it, I finished it up. I was sitting, I folded my arms. I was like, was that the best version of Dead Space? Like, it's, I think, too early to say just because, like, it's the honeymoon phase, right? We're doing good right now. You don't want to make something so strong of a declaration, but I feel like it will be. I feel like it will be. And the fact that we're talking like that is a really good sign for Motive. So
no doubt.
Hats off, man. Excellent job.
That's what's up. That's huge.
Yeah, they killed it. So that's what I've been playing this week. Apologies for the mouthful. We have one more question, and then we'll talk about the developer direct. Kenny Clark writes, what's up, Defining Dukes? We've seen more pictures from the Fallout show's set. They look promising, so I'm just wanting to get a gut check on how we're feeling about the show. Pardon me. Especially since The Last of Us is absolutely blowing up for the second week in a row. Cheers, gents. Excited for tomorrow's direct. Have a good week. Thank you, Kenny. Have you had a chance to check out a couple of new set photos?
Yeah. No, actually for Fallout, I have not. I have not seen those. You gotta send those to me. I have not.
I'll get them for you.
Yeah, when you get a chance to hit me.
Yeah, I'll get them for you. But they look great. Like, I mean, they're they're doing a good job. Like, we even get to see the Red Rocket gas station. Like, here, I'll link that to you first. And I mean, seeing it brought to life is like amazing. I'm really loving what they're doing here because it kind of looks like the gas station that we saw in the Fallout 4 promo. And, yeah, right. It looks pretty good, and they've captured it well. So I just want to see that first trailer, right? Because to me, what's going to really define this thing is the story. Like, the story of a Fallout game is always defined by you. Where do you want to go? How do you want to respond to it? So the idea of a more direct story being told is kind of exciting. I'm like, okay, what do they want to say in the Fallout world? Who do they want to be? And as we get closer and I see the more authentic stuff, I'm thinking like, okay, all right, let's see what Amazon's got here. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So as a Fallout fan, I'm excited just to get more content. I just hope we don't have to wait long to lay eyes on it and see what's going on here.
No, it looks good.
All right, Cog. The reason everyone arrived here today.
Main event.
Number one for the news section. Developer Direct It has happened. We saw Minecraft Legends. We saw Forza Motorsport. We saw Tango Gameworks come out of nowhere as a 5th appearance here. Hi-Fi Rush was shown off. We got Zenimax Online Studios and Redfall. Let's start off with Brett Medlock, my boy, who wrote in, "Hey, Dukes, I'm typing this the day before Developer Direct, but I will be curious nonetheless. What did you guys think of the overall presentation of the show, the vibe, the structure, etc.? Did it meet your expectations? What do you think they can do to improve it in the future?" And while Brett wrote this from the past, I think it's a good setup for us. So,
oh yes,
what was the feel, man? I mean, this is the new format beyond the typical summer showcase that we had confirmed this week. So, did you like Developer Direct as a format before we get into what was in there?
Yeah. Bro, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really good. 10.
I'm shocked that I am saying this because of their history. Rest in peace, Inside Xbox. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect.
Inside Xbox back.
Rest in peace, Twitch Indie, whatever that is.
Yeah.
This is what it's so impressive that what they did, the pacing was airtight. You know, less of, "Hey guys, it's me, your guy." Less of that. The developers were coming in there. They felt like they were coming like a player before the game when they started. Like they was coming through the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? They came through. They showed the studio head. First of all, great production values. Production values.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
it went ham.
Fantastic.
It went ham.
And then the thing that I've always wanted Xbox to do: shut up and show the game with less camera time of the person. Right, you can introduce with your developer team. Shout out to the legend. Kami was there. We're gonna get in that. I love that. We're gonna get into the content.
Yeah, we are.
But as far as the presentation, concise, prompt, right into the next thing, and they didn't even go hard, which they could have. I wouldn't even been mad if they would have been hard on like Game Pass plastered all over the place, right? Getting past this. They didn't even go hard on it. Was games, and we're going to show you the game, and we're going to shut up, and we're going to move on to the next game. And it was the pacing. Bam, bam, bam. 10 out of 10 Xbox. To the point, if they keep this up, it's better than a direct format, in my opinion. It's better than a state of play format, in my opinion. This was a fantastic presentation as far as from how you show something. I'm very impressed, actually. You did that. You did that. We'll get into the content and all that, but I'm curious how you felt because I streamed it with the Lords. I knew it was on because Attic is shout out to my brother Attic. He is the pickiest, most fussiest person I know, and I love him. But he always said, "Cog, I just get mad at them. I want them." He would be anti-Game Awards. He'd be like, "I want them to do their own, build up your own show." That was his thing. I give him credit. And I say, "I didn't live up. He's very difficult." He's like, "Nah, bro, 10 out of 10. I was like, when Attic gives it 10 out of 10, I was like, oh. So, but I'm curious. I don't want to influence you. Like, where are you at with this presentation?
I'm in agreement with you. Like, the actual flow and rhythm was fantastic. Like, if we're going to keep that kind of quality up, we're in good hands. They did a great job. You'd think they've been doing it for a while. And it's funny because, as you brought up, like, they've seen so many formats over the years that have kind of been failures. The third-party gameplay showcase out of nowhere. They did the Twitch gaming showcase. I'm like, is it going to be like that? You talked about Inside Xbox. Is it going to be like that? And there have been so many missed opportunities that it felt like every lesson learned was applied here. And that's really important. Even if the content didn't speak to people, the rhythm, the kind of low and slow, if you will, where they did deep dives on individual games instead of like, here's a trailer. My only critique, because I don't want to just echo everything you said, because I'm in agreement with you. My only critique is it did feel a little sizzle really at times. And maybe I just have to check my expectations. But what I was kind of hoping for is, okay, it's going to be 40 something minutes. We're seeing a low amount of games. I want to see more gameplay running. And there was gameplay, make no mistake, but I meant stretches. There was a lot of bang, 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 bang. And I'm just like, okay, like developer shot, in-game shot, overhead shot, developer shot, weird developer angle, then game. I'm just like, okay, we're overproducing a little bit now, just a little bit.
I feel you.
It's not a bad thing. It's not the end of the world because at the end of the day, I think the best presentation, obviously there was excitement there, but the best one in the terms of just show the game was Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was
God,
literally,
Hi-Fi
they
Rush.
showed the developers, and then the second half of that presentation was just talking about the game. And I was like, this is what you need to do. Let it run and talk over it. That to me was the best example. They were all great. I had one I was very critical of. We'll talk about that. But
Ooh,
otherwise, they did a great job in the terms of presentation. I worry a bit on how often we'll see these because, I mean, they were in the studio. You saw them doing makeup, lighting kits. I'm like, okay, I love the standard. And if this is what you want to set, okay. But I can't feel confident we're going to see these a lot with that amount of travel, equipment being brought. I thought this was going to be an online, like, headset on. Hey, I'm the developer over at Arcane, and here's what we're doing with Redfall, and it's just a voiceover. But they went in the studio. I mean, they went ham. It felt important, and I think that is more vital to them right now when Xbox fans are looking for answers. And they set the tone. They put a surprise in there. They put the release dates in there. I know that's kind of getting into the content, but I think they understood the mission. And this needs to be the precedent moving forward. Make no mistake, we'll have our bad developer directs, but as a first step forward, they did great here. They did exactly what they needed to, barring like one or two things. They did exactly what they needed to here. So,
no doubt.
I didn't have high expectations, but they certainly weren't low, and I think they blew right past them. So they did a great job with this. And again, in the terms of improving the future, a little more Hi-Fi Rush energy, right? Like I said, just a little bit more sit with the gameplay. Let us see it. Like, for example, Minecraft Legends was a little too bip, bop, boop, bop, bop. And I was just like, whoa, slow down. I want to see the game running, playing, what you're doing. Like, you may know what you're doing. Like, oh, I placed an ice trap. I'm like, okay, I see a thing. Oh, that shot's up. Okay. Like, just need a moment to process.
Slow up a little bit. Okay, I get what you're going.
Bit. Like, make a limit internally. Like, okay, before we switch, put like a 8-second limit on it. Make sure it's like a nice stretch of gameplay to see what's happening. Because there were certain parts that made sense, like Redfall made sense. Here's the loot. Here's it equipped. Here's the loot. Here's it in use. Like, I was like, okay, that's where you bang around a little bit more. But when you're exploring and stuff, I wanted to see that, like, get a feel for the rhythm. But that's how I personally felt about the general format of it. I think it was excellent. And just like you, round of applause, fun show. First half is filled up now. So let's get to talking about that, shall we?
Let's get to it.
Let's go in order. Minecraft Legends, first one to start off the show. They confirmed an online co-op campaign, that there will be cross-platform play for the PvP mode, which was the focus here for the developer direct. They said that the worlds within PvP, as expected in a Minecraft game, are procedurally generated, and that they pretty much showed you collecting resources and building defenses, and teams were going into war with each other. Again, this is an RTS, so it makes sense. And this game launches April 18th, 2023. So we're only a couple months away from this one, not too far out. And Cog, I thought it did look good from what we did see of it. I mean, it seems very different from what we typically would expect out of the Minecraft world.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be full disclosure. I'm not a Minecraft guy, right? And it's not anything I really interested. And that was my only concern coming into this presentation, was just like, okay, how am I going to process some games Cog's not really interested in, but let's see how they showcase. I thought they showcased well. I thought the PvP mode, and they did mention that, I believe the cross-play aspect is going to be in there. I got like some fun kind of like tower defense-y kind of stuff. I thought when they had I thought it was cool when they did like the anti-air thing, and they had like that, you could put up like anti-air defense turrets kind of things. And I just like, because everything is about the lords, and when dudes are like storming the castle, I thought that's fun. Like, I was like, that looked kind of fun. I can see this is going to do well. I just got that vibe that people who love this are going to love that. It may not be for me, but I thought they did okay. I'm with you. I would have probably, you made a good critique where like, show a little bit more of, just spend it's a couple of seconds more on it. Like, I think they were so hyped to show you all the different things that this thing has and the feature set, as opposed to just spend a little bit more time. So I think that's valid. But yeah, look, PvP does interest me on some level, because it does seem like rambunctious a little bit. And you jump on a Bengal tiger and do all this craziness.
Yeah, it looked great. It looked like just great random fun. And
for a game, I'm sorry, finish.
Oh, sorry, no, please. I was interrupting you, actually.
No, I was just gonna say for a game that COG is not as interested in, I thought they did well for the most part for their community. So kudos for them. And I know that's gonna sell like hotcakes. I know people love that. Minecraft is huge. It's huge.
They got an internal metric because for us going in, we're like, that's not gonna be Minecraft first, right? But they were like, no, we're leading with the big dogs. Like to them, that's a strong start, right?
Yeah. We bringing the big, and I was low key. I was kind of happy it was first. I was like, okay, yeah, good. Get that out the way, and then we can heat up. That's just selfish COG. That's just selfish COG.
No, for me, it was exactly that. At the beginning of the show, I was like, yep, good.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought it looked fantastic. I like the idea of these teams collecting resources. They showed base building, laying down traps, and while it was very like brief and snippy, it looks like it can be a lot of fun. I'd like to hear that there was an online co-op campaign. Like this game looks to be, of course, it is a Minecraft game, which would be more accessible, right? So I'm happy that it is that because RTS is like a pretty tough genre to get into. So I know you could play online already in other RTS games in a co-op, or in a campaign, but this one in particular just looks like more fast, fluid, wild, like you just assemble your army and build quicker. So I think it'll be more fun to play in a campaign together. So I'm actually like low-key kind of excited for this one. I already was when they showed it off. I went, oh, that's such a weird combination that I think it'll work. But as I saw more and more and more, I thought, yeah, okay, like I'm excited to get my hands on this.
One last thing though, what did surprise me was the release date.
Sooner than you thought?
Later than I thought.
Oh.
I was thinking, well, maybe this might be a February, March kind of jump. Not that April's so far away, but when I saw April, then literally the cogs in my head. So I turned it like,
that's Forza spot, isn't it?
I was like, you got April interest, and then we're gonna get into it.
That's a good point. I think I internally felt that too, but I didn't really think much about it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, now you say that. Well, I guess it's a good setup, isn't it?
Good setup. Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about Forza Motorsport. There's much more to say on this. So they showed out at Turn 10. The game looks phenomenal. They announced 500 cars at launch, more than 800 unique upgrades, the most modern race cars ever in a Forza Motorsport roster. They claim that the physics of the last handful of Forza games combined is not as good as what is found in this newest iteration. They said they rebuilt each audio system from the ground up. The game is launching with 20 environments, 5 brand new to Forza Motorsport, including South Africa, which is Kilami? I forgot how he pronounced it, but I apologize. Anyway, South Africa for the first time. And that the career mode is going to be based around car building, and that there's even a new online mode. Now, the big sticker at the end that made people kind of pull their collar and go, oh, is that why that game, Minecraft's coming out in April, is no release date as of now, as we record this, because tomorrow, as we record this, is the Forza Monthly. Yes. I think if they had a release date, they probably would have said so today, but famous last words. But as of now, it's just coming in 2023. Now, we have a write-in here. Comes from Benji Bop. Howdy, Dukes. Feel free to get me a tinfoil hat at any time, but the Forza portion of the developer direct was really concerning to me. I swear they were using a lot of B-roll from the E3 show last year, going over a lot of the same features they talked about last year, and they still won't confirm a more specific release date window. How concerning should this be? Thanks as always, and have a you gave High on Life praise, so you're automatically a hypocrite for critiquing Forspoken kind of day. I didn't put him up to that.
That was good. Yeah, look, man. All right.
There's Forza the game, right? And then there's Forza the release date. Wherever you want to start off with, we can get into it.
All right, let me start with the game first because, low key, this was the segment I was most looking forward to for both reasons. One, the gameplay, and one, the release date. So let's start with the gameplay. Look, we got to give Turn 10 their flowers, man. I keep telling people, I know there's one bad child in the house right now that gets all the publicity, and rightfully so, because they are mismanaged. Looking at you, 343. But these guys have been holding it down. There's about 4 guys that got reputation like this in the house. It's these guys, it's Playground, it's Coalition, it's the new guys, Obsidian, And like I said, we gotta be respectful. Just because someone doesn't like racing games or whatever, these are the creme de la creme when it comes to that simulation. If they gets busy, look, they showed out. I was very impressed. I'm gonna tell you the part from me, from the bells and whistles, the Dolby Atmos audio, the 4K 60, ray tracing in game. Like when Jason Ronald is tweeting about how he's this is the most exciting, this is the most greatest thing we ever seen, that means it's the man that designed the hardware is popping off. Like they did that with this thing. So whatever they tapped into to the metal, they felt they got out of it. The thing that impressed me, there was a part when they showed a day-night cycle, whatever, but then there's a part when they show, it was like a black, I'm not a car guy, but it was like a Mustang-y kind of car. And they showed it from an angle. And to the writer's point, yeah, some things were very, dynamic shot stuff. Yeah. But you saw the reflection in the backside of this car, of the other car behind it. And I'm just like, yo. Yeah. I'm like, bro, that's different. You know what I'm saying? So, again, the simulation stuff. Also, I want to shout out to the homie that wrote in that was calling us frauds, or how like we're not
Jay
car guys.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, Jay, shout out to him. I like that they addressed like, yo, we're doing something for the online. You know what I'm saying? It gave me a sense that they look like they're going to take it serious. Now, proof's going to be in the pudding when we get in the release. But as far as what they showed, it looked phenomenal. It's what I expect from Turn 10 when they get a hold of something. And I told people every day, I was never worried about them. Like, they were the slam dunk 90 Metacritic as far as I'm concerned. Forza is like death, taxes, and Forza are going to be good. Like, that's always how it's going to be for me. So anyway, let's get to the meat that we're here for. Now, I was surprised when I'm like, all right, Minecraft went up first. Minecraft had their date.
Yeah.
I said, okay, date.
Tone was set, right? You're like, certainly everyone's going to get a date now. Yep. I was like, it's going to happen.
2023.
Oh. What was the reaction as a group when you guys saw it? You're like, oh. For me, I literally was watching by myself. I went, oh.
Yeah, and I said, oh, look like a second half situation. So immediately, King is getting mad at me. I'm like, someone they ain't ready for the first half. That's what it says to me. Now, here's the eagle eye thing that maybe, or as of this recorded, and maybe as of the Forza Monthly, COG gets disproven wrong. There was an shout out to my man, Gaming Forte, who caught this. I didn't catch this. At the end of the stream, there was like a coming soon under everybody. Had everybody's picture and everybody's date. Everybody's picture of the Minecraft picture and Minecraft date. Then there was a coming soon, but the had the spelling of a 6.
Yep.
It was not spelled, the G was not spelled like a G. And it felt purposely done. Does that mean, is it June and they don't want to lock down? Because why would you even do that? Like, they were playing to me. I was like, good catch. So maybe we get more. Maybe they just didn't want to confirm a hard and fast June date. But if it comes in June, pay attention to that tea leaf. They may have stealth dropped something for us. But I'm curious of what you think. Like, for the game and then that whole controversy, because this is a big one.
Yeah, this was another draft pick of Matty's, and so I was excited about this. Like, I actually am interested in Forza Motorsport.
I'm going to get smoked.
Yeah. I think you are with this one, because, I mean, it looks great. I think it looks so good, man. Like, I think it's because, like, I like Forza Horizon, but I think because this is more of a simulation racer, and I kind of want to just literally throw myself in an awkward, uncomfortable position where it's like, oh, I know nothing about this, and just force myself to learn at least a little bit. That's why I'm excited for Motorsport, because I know this is almost like the enthusiast game, right? They're sipping wine, they got their steak and scallops, they're sucking their fingers with every bite. They're like, so good, right? That's what you're getting out of Forza. And I want to be a part of the high class. I want to see what y'all are feasting on a little bit. And I'm excited for it, quite frankly. Now, beyond that, like, they were speaking my language, and I like how they kind of marketed it. I can understand things like, instead of when they talk about the tire traction, and when it's raining, the slippery slopes will start to take over. No, I don't know what you mean when you talk about the rubber to the road. When you say 500 cars at launch, 800 unique upgrades, I'm like, oh, my RPG brain is starting to click on all cylinders. I like that. So I feel like their messaging here
Mhm.
was excellent. 20 environments in total. Awesome to see, right? Like 5 new to the actual game. A car building career mode sounds really cool. That was the thing I was left like going, oh, I want to know more about that. Like, I think that would have pushed it over the top. This show, I should have said this probably in the format, but I wanted to wait for the Forza aspect because I think it applies to that. And I think it certainly applied to Zenimax Online. Did feel like a bit of a casualty of being next to other planned events. The Forza Monthly, the Elder Scrolls Online global reveal event. It felt like they said, we're going to keep a couple of things close to our vest. You come over here. No, that's the thing. If I'm Xbox, I'm like, no, this is especially for your first one. Most eyes are going to probably be on this. Then it's going to be game dependent. But this was the first of its kind. I think if you got something to show, here it is. Show it. I'm just saying that's what I probably would have done. But otherwise, the game itself sounds great. You talked about reflection where you could see another car in there. I remember they showed one where like the red hue of the car, like the sun was bouncing off the ground and then into the car, and you could almost see this glow from the metal of the car on the ground. I was like, oh, wow, that's like, even I'm picking up on that. And I know shit about that. Like that's when you know, right? So they're doing something special there. But the release date, I'm with you. You know, I was informed on the potential Easter egg. Like I saw when I tweeted, I said like the show was great, love the format, et cetera, et cetera. I said, but what's up with Forza? Like why? And someone had sent me like that kind of looks like a 6 though. I was like, okay, it does. Like it definitely does. Where my head goes now is like, wasn't that Starfield's window? Wasn't that Starfield's window?
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
And I don't know if this means any type of bump is occurring or if Starfield's coming earlier than expected or if Starfield's going to overlap. I think we're selling all of our community on the idea that it's got to be month to month to month because that would be great for us. It's like this month I got Forza, this month I got Redfall, this month I got Minecraft, et cetera, et cetera. But when I'm seeing the tease of a 6, I'm like, dude, I thought that was Starfield's place. Like everyone thought. That's the thing we thought, right? Maybe we thought wrong. But when you see, as we'll talk about Redfall, a firm May 2nd, you know, Minecraft, a firm April 18th. It's like, okay.
Flag down.
Yeah, we're locking down. And a seeming Forza tease for June, or at least summer. I'm like, okay, what is going on with Starfield? Are you telling me like, could this be a March game? Could this be even late? I don't know. I haven't heard anything else. Like what I've learned is this release date is so fucking nebulous now. But I don't want to turn a Forza conversation into just Starfield here. But this would have been like, all they had to do was give this thing a date and we would have just never even spoke about Starfield. But because it's not, and it felt like the guarantee across the community, like it's Forza, you know what you need to do. And you're the only one who shows up undated. I'm like, bro, nothing is certain in this world, right? You talked about death, taxes, and Forza. It's like, I thought that would apply here with the release date, man. I thought that was a given, but it wasn't. And I can only assume they're trying to keep it close to the vest, make sure they get it right, and I respect that. But if it ends up being June, I'm sure we'll know what's happening with Starfield by then. But I think it does change a bit of the look for the first half. But do you think that's the case, sir?
Yeah, because it's a perfect transition to, I don't know if we're going to get into one of them, Zenimax Online.
Yes, let's do it.
They happened to talk about their release date, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because they were, I believe, and again, it's a, you know, quote unquote expansion, right? Necrom, the Zenimax Online joint, close to another part of Tamriel that you never really went to. I thought they really showed well. And I actually, I know you're going to be on the opposite of this. I know we're going to fight.
Let's hear what you have to say, good sir.
So I was there with them from day one, right? So I remember, I'm like, okay, it's kind of not complete where it needs to be, but I see the potential. I like it. Then I came back around mid-generation refresh, tremendous improvements.
Yeah, 100%.
This to me, I ain't gonna front. Look kind of solid to me. I was like, yo, I'm kind of digging. I'm like, damn, I gotta stay away from you because I like Destiny, but damn, you know what I'm saying? But the thing I will say is that they did a phenomenal job showcasing the other, what I would consider familiar regions, right? Where they have we got a land overrun by dragons, almost in a Skyrim kind of vein. Then we got the other joint with the Daedric giant boss, like looking from Oblivion, like, yo. So those hit home for me because those are like two of my favorite, Scrolls games. So I'm like, damn, they got the Oblivion section, they got the Skyrim section, and I'm biased. Like, I like warlocky kind of classes. I play a warlock in Destiny. So when I saw I forgot, is it called the Necro? What's the name of it?
Necrom.
What's the name of the Necro? The Arcanist. That's the
the class. Sorry, I think you're talking about the expansion.
Yeah, so when they blew the new class, and I'm like, oh, they coming for me. Like, I like that kind of a guy with the spiritual book and the wizardry and I was like, so they came for me. This was just a personal, they hitting every button for COG kind of thing. Other than that, I thought it was a really dope move to be like, yo, every DLC that they did say limited time kind of thing, but every DLC, yo, you could get in. We're not gonna put a barrier entry. Game Pass, get in. And then when I saw they released it, I'm like, you're June 5th, 6th. Like,
that's always been, just for history's sake, June has always been their month to release. Like,
they've always done. Okay, cool.
Scary consistent with that. Just as
cool. I didn't know.
It does add to like a pretty full June for Xbox.
Right. So now back to your original question. Now that I'm kind of finished with Elder Scrolls, right? We got the Elder Scrolls, right? Diablo is June too. Top of June. Potentially this rumored, Easter egg Forza June. One might think late June. Where's Starfield gonna fit in on the list? And for me, I was like, you ain't June, bro. And then the other thing is, I'm just gotta be real. I don't see no scenario where I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see no scenario like, yeah, guys, March, we're ready. I just don't see.
I love that though, but
I would love it. I hope I'm wrong. There's guys that's, shout out to my homies. They're like, yo, Super Bowl commercial in March 323. Look, if they do it, COG will be the first to bend the knee and say, bro, I was wrong. They did that. Damn. What do we got for the second half, right? But we're as of recording, January 25th. You're going to have to start talking about Starfield. If you intend to be March, like some rumors say, we better be starting to know when the date for this show gonna be, right? Yeah. So we'll see. My gut tells me second half energy, or at least, right outside the window. You know what I'm saying? So
right outside the window.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm curious because we seem to be completely opposite on Elder Scrolls. I want to know what disgusted me. What did Matty see that he was just like, get this Elder Scrolls Necrom off my screen? I want to know this.
So, I'm like you. Like, Elder Scrolls Online, I was always a firm defender of. Like, nothing they showed was bad. But here's the thing. Like, they show up. They're like, okay, we're doing Necrom. It's coming out June 5th on PC, June 20th on Xbox. I'm like, let's see it. They're like, we're doing a class. It's a screenshot. I'm like, okay, let's see it. And they're like, and if y'all are interested, like, if you like Oblivion, we got Daedric shit. And oh, by the way, we got dragons too. I'm like, they're just marketing. This is an ad. This is an ad from top to bottom. And I'm like, they're going to show it. He's like, and if you want to learn more about Necrom, then you should come check out our global reveal event over here. I'm like, what? Who thought this was a good idea?
Oh,
because the goal of their ad was, if you like what you saw, come learn more. This game is old. People have had the chance to see it, think about it, play it. You've made it dirt cheap for years. The minds are likely made up. When you want to get someone onto your side, you got to show them while they're watching. You got to show them Necrom and be like, and if you like what you saw, there's more over on the global reveal event. But instead they say, we're doing this thing. We're going to this region in Tamriel you may not have seen in a while. And if you want to know what the hell that is and everything you're going to do in it, come on over. It's like, no. I was like, this is bad. This is the part of the show I was like, this is bad. Like, this is not the energy we want. This kind of advertisement energy. And I say this is, again, a firm ESO defender. Like, Love the game. Bad showing here, though. Like, if you're going to show me your new thing and talk about it, don't use it as a platform to be like, come on over here. Don't give me that Halo Infinite Gamescom energy. Don't give me that. No, I need you in my show here in Developer Direct with your content, not over with like 2,000 people on Global Reveal event, here with hundreds of thousands of viewers on Developer Direct. I'd be so bothered internally. I'm like, y'all had a chance to show people the greatness that is ESO. And I'm sure some people said, oh, this does look cool. Okay, I'll check it out. But it's not like ESO is a slandered game. Like, it's got the good word has been spread. So you got to show him a new thing to pull him in. And when it's rare, like it is rare, he's right on the point. It's rare when they introduce a playable class. So when they do, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Last time I think they did, I think I'm wrong on this, but I remember one of them was during the Morrowind expansion. And that was like 2017-ish. Like it's rare. So when they do, it's like, okay, let's see what the Arcanist can do. And they just didn't show up. Man, what are you guys doing? So I respect that they want to have their own event, but this is one of those times where we don't know how flexible Developer Direct will end up being. Right. And I could see some, let's say they start to do third-party stuff. I could see some developer moseying in there and being like, we're going to show like this much and try to bring them over here. And that's not the type of energy I want for the show. No, not that it's awful, not that it's bad. It's just, that was the representation of like, no, I don't want to see that. Because I felt like with each of these, like it or hate it, I got something out of it. There was something to take away with it. This, I was just like, okay, we already knew what ESO was. Like, oh, it has dragons. Oh, it has stuff from all eras of Elder Scrolls. Yes. What's the new thing? You got a name. It looks incomplete. And it's funny because it's releasing soon. And they're doing a new chapter in March. And I get they didn't have time to show that maybe, but not Necro. I don't know. Sorry, but you were going to say something. So
No. You made a good point. You made a valid counterpoint. And I think the part where you really sold me is the fact that you're right in the sense that there's a big audience that already kind of have made their mind up on Elder Scrolls. So if you want to get them, like how Minecraft, you got to kind of at least show what the new stuff is here. And let's be honest, a lot of people who have made their mind up against Elder Scrolls is tuning off as soon as the Developer Direct is over. They're not going to turn. We stopped our stream right as the joint ended. We were like, yo, we're not going to do the Elder Scrolls joint. You can do that on your own time. And you're right. If you're going to get that guy who's on the fence, you're right. You do need to show the new stuff a little, some of it. Like they really didn't show.
What they show isn't bad. It's just, you got to pull over.
They fooled me. I've been away so long. So I'm like, oh my God.
And that works, right? That's the good perspective we need here because that does work. And it's not like what they did was ineffective. I think it just would have been more effective with the new stuff.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you made a good point. Yes, absolutely. Good point.
Next one was like the moment, right? The moment.
Let's go.
Tango Gameworks, right? They show, let's go to the beginning of the show, Cog. They're like 5 new games. And they write it out because they had this kind of chalkboard like setup for it. I love that presentation, by the way, or kind of like a scribble pad, I should say. They erased the 4 games. And they're like 5 games. I'm like, no way. I was like, they're doing a surprise. And they pull out and I'm like, at first I'm like Starfield. I see Tango. And that was like a welcome. I was like, Tango? They just dropped. I was like, is it Ghostwire Tokyo? I'm like, are they doing the Xbox release for it? It's Hi-Fi Rush, this rhythm action game where you flow to the beat, connecting attacks and abilities together. You jump, dodge, parry, and zip to enemies in this kind of anime art style game, 3D platforming elements, and a very, very different vibe from anything we've ever seen from Tango Gameworks. And the best part is it launched day of. What a big dick move by Xbox. Big Daddy Phil was in the building. He was just like, drop it day of. Give him something good to snack on. And I was like, oh, I'm unbuckling my belt. I'm just feeling like I'm letting the stomach plop out. I'm eating that steak and sirloin. I'm eating good right now. Like, this is where I was like, wow, what a treat. I can't believe they did this, man. I haven't played it as of this moment in time, but from the outside looking in, it looks so good. And the thing, Cog, what I loved about Hi-Fi Rush.
Let's go. This is your segment. I was thinking about you. I said your name on my stream.
Oh, yeah.
I said I want to see Matty, right? I wish I was looking at what Matty's doing right now.
Fucking watching this, man. Because I was like, this is what we were hoping for when Tango Gameworks joined up with Xbox. this is a Japanese Xbox game. I was so pleased with that. I was thinking like, this is not your typical Xbox game, right? You're used to your burger, shake, and fries. We always talk about here, and they're great, but this was different. It wasn't a shooter. It wasn't a driving game. It's a third-person anime beat-em-up rhythm game from fucking Tango. I was like, this looks awesome. It looks charismatic. And at first I'm thinking like, when they were kind of gearing up for a release day, I'm like, all right, see you in March, April, maybe a demo today. And they're like, no, the whole game drops today. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Famous last words, right? Imagine I go home like, this shit sucks. But I don't know. To me, it's almost like a this can't fail moment. I'm like, this looks really good. I'm totally about it. The music sounded rad. They had like teammate gameplay where you were like pulling in your friends and like having them assist you in combat and exploration. It just looked tight. It looked really, really good. So I can't wait to go home and play it. But what a pleasant surprise. It's one thing to be like, hey, we got a little bit more for you. It's another thing to just drop it day of, and it's like a full-fledged video game. But Aaron Greenberg strikes again, man. Keep those expectations in check as we slide in a fifth game to shadow drop from a first-party studio, and that's starting to become their thing. Check your expectations, and here comes something else. So, Cog, I've talked a lot here.
Yes.
Thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush, good sir?
Yeah, this was the moment for the show, even over Redfall.
Mic drop moment.
And we're gonna get into Redfall, but bro, this was the mic because again, at nauseum, I've always said the problem I have with Xbox, outside of bad presentation, I've always been consistent. They don't do the wonder, the magic moments. This is what Nintendo does better than a lot of people. Like, they have that moment. You go, what the hell? We didn't expect this. Yo! And the base goes crazy. And this was perfect because, again, I know people were mad at Aaron, you don't expect anything, but I'd rather them go with the under-deliver and then over-promise on the day of, because it gets you in the correct mindset, and then you're truly surprised. Bro, this thing looked beautiful. It literally was like Jet Set Radio, Sunset Overdrive, and like Brutal Legends had a baby.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, bro, then when I saw the anime style cartoon that like, it was just moving at like a nice 60 frame. It looked crisp with even the cinematics of the main character. He had charisma, he had flash. Then I'm like, wait a minute. We got a little rhythm, little joint going to this, like a little Guitar Hero flow in the middle of the combat, and you get better bonuses or whatever. Look, it looked good. It really did. It showed well. It's a unique style. Shout out to the legend Okami. When I seen him there, it felt good to see him come out and he's talking about, look, there's something. Oh yeah, like, and then for them to stealth drop it. Look, they could have did this, showed this, and first of all, it had the best presentation out of it.
100%.
Show the gameplay, show the mechanics. They really, really showed out. And that's what I want to see from Xbox. And the thing that, to throw the cherry on top, you could have told me this is coming second half of 2023. I'd have been like, all right, something's still coming.
Yes.
You could have told me, I'd have been like, bro, this is impressive. You say, Anna, so right now, everybody stopped. We had their head down on the app like this.
Yeah.
How you spell it? Hi with the hyphen. I built for that. H-I. I can't find it. They was like, nah, put the hyphen, Cog. H-I hyphen. It's in the Xbox at Game Pass. I said, oh, let's go. Briefly played like maybe about an hour. Try to sneak in before.
Oh, you got some time in.
Oh, I wait around. Yeah, I tried.
So look, out because they said tonight.
No, it's out. It's outside.
Thoughts? Like, I know they're early, but thoughts?
Yeah, it's super early. You know what I'm saying? One mini critique, and it could be me as a setting. I'm like, maybe I think you 30. I don't know if you 60. I don't know. But I will say, beautiful looking game. Then I'm starting to learn the mechanics with the time. They even got the simple mode for me where you could put this overlay on the bottom.
I saw that in the presentation.
The thing. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, listen, you can fight and do your fluid thing. You got a dash mechanic. That's pretty cool. You jumping and dashing. I didn't get too far with the traversal. The game was trying to teach me at the beginning. But first, I had like a little narrative leading up. Bro, it felt really cool. Like, the character is hilarious. He's giving me Sunset Overdrive kind of character vibes. And then they're over the top. It's silly, but it's not taking itself too seriously. But it's really fun. Again, I haven't gone deep on it, but the early impressions are like, yo, this seems cool. Light attack, heavy attack, dash. And then like the way he gets his powers is absolutely kind of hilarious. The man literally got an iPad. He went to the facility or whatever, but I ain't gonna spoil it too much, but it's hilarious. It's charming. I've got a charming vibe right now. We'll see as the game goes on. But salute to Xbox for this. This was by far the highlight. This is what really elevated the show for me because it was the unexpected and it really looked cool. So salute to Tango. That was a pleasant surprise.
Literally no one expected to have a game from Tango before Ghostwire Tokyo hit the platform. A real welcome surprise. And it goes to show, I talked about this with the Game Pass day one drops when everyone was mouthing off saying like, oh, January's looking kind of whack. I'm like, we finally got Persona. You get Monster Hunter. Like 3 really quality games have dropped.
Good point.
Now you get your Shadow drop. Like this is what I want from Game Pass is like that moment of, I need to get on that now. And they are dropping those types of games. And they added more to the batch in the second half of January. But dude, like this is the type of energy we're looking for. I don't think it'll be an every time thing, but they set the precedent that this is something we can do.
Yes.
And I know it sounds like a major string to attach, but it was that faint glimmer of like Starfield could just have a presentation 1 month and come out the next.
It could. Yeah.
And I mean, because this is the game that I saw and I'm like, oh, Xbox needs to market this. I'm watching it. I'm like, my eyes are lighting. I'm like, you need to market this, push the fuck out of this thing. Like, this is the Japanese game for Xbox this year. Like, go hard. Like, who knows what else you're going to get? They're like, it's out today. I'm like, oh, like, yes and no. I'm like, oh, man, like, we need more people to see this if it's good, right? Like, so I hope it ends up being great when I play it. But I was just so excited on the notion as well. Like, I did not expect to see a Japanese style game at this show at all. And to get one and have it being out today, such a smart move, game changing move there. Cause I was just like, yes, this is what they needed. Like everything else was fine. I was just like you. I was waiting for second half, maybe a couple months away. I would have been like, yeah, that looks great. Like what a great surprise. And when they said today, I was just like, no fucking way. I was like, maybe the game's like an hour long, but it seems like it's a full game. So
yeah, I'm curious what your impressions are because I know you like that, and it was giving me a lot of Sega energy too, you know, with certain stuff. So I can't wait till when you get a chance to play it. And we reconvene. We'll
talk about it next week. But we have one more game to get into, good sir.
Yes.
Redfall. Redfall showed up, had the longest presentation, the most gameplay focused. There was very little faces of the developers. Not that there's a problem with any of that, but we saw lots of different weapons, skill sets. We saw various playable characters and how they can differ from one another. We saw side quests like saving people from a brewery, vampire nests where they change each time you step inside. You got to take out the hearts and escape the nests afterwards. We saw them taking back neighborhoods and then fighting the underboss, controlling that area. You get a skull after that. You eventually fight the vampire god. So we got a feel of the loop, right? And then they firm up that release date that we've heard for a while. May 2nd, 2023 is when Redfall is dropping. They're claiming this is the largest setting ever for Arcane, which makes sense given it's an open world. It is packed with environmental storytelling. There are like rest spots that you can stop to resupply and get quests from other survivors. They showed off different enemy types. They showed off a lot of interior exploration, like a lot of buildings you could go into. And I was starting to rub my hands a little bit. But Cog, you are the, pardon me, my watch just went up. Good? Cog, you are the resident Redfall fan. So I would like you to get us started on how you were feeling after another showing and them saying it's coming out May 2nd.
All right. Full disclosure. When the Redfall part came up, I was still on the high from Hi-Fi Rush. So I was I was like, oh my God. Like, so I didn't get, trust me, Redfall showed well, don't get me wrong, but I just want to let y'all know, remember, Redfall was supposed to be the superstar technically of this event. Was, right? Unless you're like Forza hardcore. Right. So I was like, oh, y'all got your thunder stolen on your own show, but okay, let me refocus though. But no, I love the in-depth aspect of how much they showed. I think for me, what won me over is this is something I want Gears of War, Coalition, I want you to pay attention. You flirted with this with Hive Busters DLC, which I thought was fantastic, which is you got 3 different characters, not from the main thing, and you have each has their own specific ability. And I love that because now the developers alluded to this before. They're like, yeah, you can play with the same characters, but we really designed. And what the one that had that bird that you send the bird through and then the invisibility. And I'm just like, ooh, I can really do the covert stealth infiltration. It was a mission where he was on top. He was kind of going through, breaking down. I think it was like a rescue mission for a specific survivor. And I thought that was kind of cool. Got a little bit of, let me tell you the highlights for me. Got a little bit of State of Decay energy with the blood, heart, plague kind of a stronghold. You have
Good
to kind of
connection. Yes.
I kind of like that where it's fortified. It's going to be tough in here. It's the toughest of the tough. For me, though, my only critique to Redfall I never mentioned so far up until this showing was I never felt, because a lot of these times these developers will show you the game and they're kind of like dominating and, I never felt the fear until they brought the Vampire God down. The Vampire God was for me.
Rook, or are you talking about the God?
I think the God, whatever is his name, Rook, whatever.
Rook who like shows up after you take down other vampires and they get pissed and they send someone in.
Whatever they Titanfall down.
Yeah, the Rook. Yeah.
That was for COG because I want fear, terror. Oh God, we're gonna get destroyed kind of energy. Because I felt all up until this point, Redfall, we the way they shown it, like we're just better than the vampire. It just felt, and probably maybe it's not that well. Maybe someone said on my stream, shout out to Jez, he was like, maybe they're playing with the difficulty because I wanted that sense of tension and fear. I never felt it looked difficult.
Yeah.
And that part, I was like, there we go. So look, I felt the world environment showed better. The diversity of the locales. I felt like they had like they established like there's a structure, right? You got your vampires, you got your little cliques. That's the vampire sympathists and sympathizers, whatever. Yeah. Like they had different things that I'm like, okay. I love that they stress. The last one I'll say is I love that they stress we are a story-based cooperative open world. Because to me, that is the line in the sand to say, bro, we're not Left 4 Dead. We're not, what's the one that came out? Oh, the one that's supposedly Back 4 Blood. Right. We're not that. We're this. The key is just going to be the execution. I was impressed. If I had to nitpick anything, I would say the shooter was good. I would still would have like a little more visceralness. It was decent. A little more, but I'll just be nitpicking, maybe a little knife here and there or something. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, nothing really moved me off my square. I'm still excited for Redfall. So I am curious where you at, because I'm like, good Lord. Yeah, we talked about you on the stream.
Oh, yeah? what kind of smoke am I getting?
Yeah, wonder how Matty's feeling about it. No, someone in the chat was like, yeah, we wonder how Matty's feeling about it. So King was like, we don't care because we like it. And I'm like, I am curious. I was like, how does Matty receive this? Does he still, we'll see. So let's go.
The best part of it for me was definitely the showcase of abilities, because that's like Arcane signature is like everyone you play as, whether it be Corvo or Emily or I think you was the name of the character from Prey. Whoever you play as is or maybe it was Morgan. I don't remember. But anyway, point being is every character you play as feels different. And when they showed the same character doing different things, like you saw the bullet veil and she caught all the shots and threw them back with the umbrella. Raw ass ability there. I was like, yes. And we saw the one we've seen before, the elevator lift. I was like, okay, more of a cooperative one. So we saw kind of something that would help in single player and one that would be good with friends, and you could do all sorts of things with it. So I was thinking like, okay, I like that. For me, what spoke to me a lot was different from you. You mentioned like, I want to feel the fear and tension. What I didn't expect is when he was crawling around the inside of a building by himself, looking for the light to the lighthouse, and he turns around and like, there it is. I was like, oh, okay. Like I can get behind this type of energy with Redfall, because that is a differentiating factor. I like that you could go inside a ton of these buildings. I will say, and I expected this, it kind of had the Deathloop interior energy where you were inside places, but there was no like, here, I can pick up these glasses, I can pick up this case, I can pick up this lens. None of that. Like, it was very specific objects, but the interiors were very well decorated. Like, there were pictures and things you could look at. And I don't know how interactable maybe they are, because now that I think about it, the HUD was disabled. So I'm still going to give it a fair chance. They're not going to show what I would typically do, which is like, can I read this? Can I check this? Can I move this? Like, I play like a weirdo, so I get it. But like, what they showed was that you can go inside these places. That to me was step one on what I want. It's like, I want to have this arcane open world, but when I pull up to a location, I want the arcane level design. Like, I want that tight, diverse, yet open-ended level design where I can play how I want, approach it how I want. And there seems to be an answer for any particular situation. That's a tough task in an open world, but I think like one game that did it super well was actually Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk has fantastic level design when you go and do the gigs. Try them out if you haven't, but that's what I was hoping for. I got a taste of it. I feel like that's what I'll like. I see more now what they meant by Far Cry though. 100%. Like strong Far Cry energy here. Not in a bad way, I guess, but the chaotic, like 8 million guns, open world madness kind of way. Oh yeah. But the diverse setting, the vampires, the kind of horror elements, the clear environmental storytelling kind of tips the balance. I mean, not even kind of, decisively for me, tips the balance in the favor of Arcane. I need to see a better representation of the moment to moment. That was the one thing I was still a little off balance on. I'm like, okay, you talked about taking back each of the neighborhoods, but you didn't really show it. You showed the brewery mission. I'm like, are there more of those, or do I only clear out breweries?
Right.
Like, what are not that I expect them to show everything. We're still 4 months away from launch, so 3-ish.
Yes.
So like, I get it, but a lot that was shown here was good. I don't think I have the potential to be surprised by this game would be my closing thoughts. Like, I have the possibility of walking away from this and going like, oh, that was way better than I thought. And I think that's a good spot to be in. But right now I'm in the spot of like, I'm going to play day one, no doubt. I'm more in its favor than I was before. And that's a good showing, I guess, right? Yeah, it inched me closer. So I don't think I'll ever be hyped for Redfall. Right. We just need to put that to bed. I don't think it'll happen by this point. But I'm more open to it now. And whether that's processing and understanding what it is going to be versus what it is, or what I want it to be versus what it is. I just hope people understand what I try to convey all the time when speaking on Redfall is I'm not asking for another Dishonored. Some people I saw in the comments were saying that, and I get why you might think that. I love Dishonored. I like specific elements of Dishonored more than anything. And it defined Arcane, and they carried those elements into all of their games leading up into Deathloop. So to me, it wasn't a Dishonored thing. It was an Arcane thing. And that was the interior exploration, the interactivity, the options, the morality of it all. And we're definitely going to lose some of that here. The question is how much, and that'll kind of determine a lot of how I feel on the game, because that's really important to me. But I just hope it carries a lot of elements over to from
that's impressive for you,
Dishonored to Redfall.
I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm like, no, because I'm like, I know how you feel. I really do. I know I tease you a lot, but I know how you feel, and the fact that it still landed a little positively, even though I know your overall thing. I thought that's at least a good side coming in, that you're at least open to what it's seeming to be, right? As we learn, as more of the layers are getting peeled off, that kind of thing. So that's interesting.
All right. Number 2 is a quick one, but I felt like it would just be a good in-betweener, just given we're talking about events. According to outlet Inside Gamer, Microsoft is looking to host a Bethesda-focused event for media at the beginning of March. It is currently said that it's unclear if this will be open to the public. However, the outlet only expects Redfall and Elder Scrolls Online to be present. Now, if we really lean heavily into this, the reason I kept it here is especially because after what we saw happen with Forza, I knew the conversation with Starfield would pick up. You got to wonder if Starfield's not at this event in March. And Bethesda Game Studios typically doesn't do hands-on, so there is that. If that's what this ends up being, I'm guessing it would be, given Xbox's history. But I'm just connecting some dots here. And if this ends up being true, when do we see Starfield? When's it dropping, right? Just a big question mark lingering over it now. But I digress. Potential event inbound for these games, which would be exciting. We don't know if it'll be open to the public or not.
Right. So this is media-focused event. That's probably
we haven't heard about it. But
we haven't heard about it. I'll check my email. Yeah. But I mean, it's stupid. No, I feel that. So yeah, if that's the case, Redfall, which would deserve its own. You know, I'm surprised Elder Scrolls Online is back in the mix again, considering they just got that double event kind of thing action going. Starfield again just doesn't seem to be a lot of time in between to fit.
It's ticking.
All this stuff.
It's ticking.
It seems. Yeah. Hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too. But this could also be an event similar to the one I attended for Pentiment. When I went to the Pentiment preview, that was one that it was like Josh and I forgot the lady's name, but she was like, I think the lead artist for the game. Josh Sawyer and her were sitting down and doing a Q&A / walkthrough of the game. And it was hands off, but you like watched them play and you got to ask them questions. So I'm curious if they're going to do that for this preview. If they do, I already told Xbox, like I was just straight with them. I was like, I didn't like that. Like you guys got to put hands on the game more than not. And they were always good with that. So I just made sure it was clear, like, don't get too cozy with this one.
Don't get too cozy with
this one. But if they listen to me, then they'll be in good shape. That's all. All right. Number 3, Cog. This is a big one. All right. So here we go. 343 has announced via their Twitter account that they are going to continue working on the Halo franchise moving forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a really important one because it connects to a whole bunch of rumors afterwards. All right, let's start off with the letter. Halo and Master Chief are here to stay. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. This is all that's in the letter. This is all that's in the letter. And it just says Pierre Hintz, studio head. That's it. That's the letter. Just 2 quick sentences. That's it. So following that, there were a couple of updates based off the conversation we had last week going on with 343, the firings, the status of potential single player DLC, et cetera, et cetera. So on the note of canceled single player content for the game, here's what Jez Corden had to say on the matter. Quote, "From what I've heard via multiple sources, Halo Infinite's campaign DLC never existed beyond conversations. The focus has been entirely on live service," end quote. Then this is what Jason Schreier had to say about the single player DLC. Quote, "I ran these bullet points by a few people. While it's still true that 343 is focused on multiplayer, the stuff about campaign DLC being scrapped is false. I don't think there was much of that planned in the first place. And a lot of this is either wrong or just speculation," end quote. So that's what's going on with the single player part of things. And we now have a little more context to what COG and Lords of Gaming had reported, right? Which was saying, hey, there's going to be a lot of firings over on the single player side of things. And if they were never really working on much, then it makes sense why they were offloading insufficient talent, if you will. Then the last point here was an IGN report on the amount of layoffs and where Halo could potentially be going in the future, which is the most interesting part of it all, because we have this letter on one end, but then we have this report from IGN on the other. So IGN writes they have learned that significant cuts have been made to 343's Halo development team, and one former 343 employee that was impacted by the layoffs estimated about a quarter of 343 staff was impacted, although that's not a firm statistic, they write. We've also learned that around 30 people were let go from 30 people, by the way, in an art division. 30 people were let go from 343's art department alone, with former employees saying 343 Industries was hit hard with positions impacted across all disciplines. Now, separately here, this is the interesting part. IGN reports that a senior level source believes that 343 could become a publishing team instead of the core series developer moving forward. Ruben Barrett's got the write-in. Dukes, what the hell is going on with Halo, and what do you think is going to happen next with the IP? There are a lot of FPS-capable studios at Microsoft. And with the potential for the Call of Duty teams to get involved, things can get really interesting. Do you have any thoughts on the future of Halo? I'll just kind of start us off here, Cog, because I feel like
let's go.
We talked about this on, again, DD Cross Sacred Symbols. It sounds like a good episode. You might want to check it out.
Yeah, you might want to check it out.
But we got into Halo a lot. And one thing I said that's frustrating about Xbox is I feel like they've got the answers to Halo right in front of them. Like, people have been calling for more diverse experimentations, probably since Halo Wars. Like, oh, you're going to do that? Why not this or that? Survival horror. Why not an RPG, et cetera, et cetera. They have the first-person shooting talent, though, which is the bread and butter of Halo, right? It will always be a core first-person shooter experience and grow outward from that to bring in new fans. But what's frustrating is as you get Machine Games, id, and potentially all these Activision teams that have worked on first-person shooting games, I know none of them ever had the speed or feel of Halo, but they have a affinity for first-person shooting talent. You're working on this battle royale mode. Do you look at certain affinity potentially? They just have so many obvious options around them, but it's like the hell-bent nature of feeding 343 this license. And Chris put it perfectly. And I'm saying this here because in case you don't go and listen to it, he said it perfectly that reading that letter from 343 felt less like a confirmation and more like a threat. Like, we're still around and we're still hanging on to this thing. And Warhand, I'm like, no, why would you do that, man? Like that was the energy I was getting from it. But Chris captured it perfectly. It really felt like we're hanging around. We're not going anywhere. But dude, we're not asking for you guys to go anywhere, but you cannot handle the core franchise moving forward. Eventually, you got to pull the plug and say like, hey, 3 times is enough. But there's a whole spiel I'm sure you want to get into as well. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like to fire away, sir, wherever you want to begin. Halo IP.
Yeah, this news broke on a Saturday, I believe, which was very interesting. They felt the need to come out with a statement, very blunt, very direct, very minimal. We are continuing to work on it, and Pierre Hines and the team, and they mentioned the single player, they mentioned the multiplayer. So, to me, I internalized that as you felt the need to put out a PR firestorm because articles were circulating that you would no longer be the steward of Halo anymore, right? 343 being a studio. So I thought that was interesting because internally they probably felt the need. We have to get ahead of that and say that. Now, I'll be honest, Matty, like, I don't know how much I believe that. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that, you want to show stability. You want to show still faith in the Halo franchise to show people that, hey, we're not giving up on Halo. I get that part. But then we have to deal with the reality part, where the layoffs to targets were, what's going on. What does those optics say, right? From internally at Microsoft. I got to look at the action. The actions say we're kind of blaming a majority of your studio for an underperforming situation. So, now we get to this, new report, shout out to IGN, right? In reference to, they believe from a senior level source that 343 can become a publishing team. And again, we talked about it on the Cross episode. I think you guys really should pay attention to this episode. It's a good episode. In the sense that, one of the things that could be happening is I personally believe that this studio is still in flux and in transition, and that this stuff possibly is still being ironed out as we go. So you put out the fourth phase, hey, 343, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to be followed in my opinion, right? And what I would like to say, what we talked about was kind of like, okay, it may need a break right now if they're not going to do any more single player content, and it may just be multiplayer focused, live servicey kind of stuff to just kind of keep it infinite going, right? So you do that, you fix Infinite to a state where, as far as the technical issues from a desync PC stuff, from a monetization model, you actually fill it out, maps. Hopefully the battle royale is not canceled, code name Tatanka from certain affinity. You flush that out, and maybe now it becomes the fully feature set that it was, but you just ride off, and all you're doing is support and your Master Chief Collection. Because Pierre, what was brought in for, he's one that's responsible for turning Master Chief Collection around to the part where it's more functional and more popular than Halo Infinite right now. You know what I'm saying? At least the last time we checked a couple times. So you got that. I personally think that is a direction they may go. Now, the question is the steward of Halo, because that's what their studio is in existence for. Their whole studio was made for that purpose. They have a marketing department. They got a whole lot of things that are just privy to them. They're like a little special forces team within Xbox Game Studio. You know, we talked about the contractor situation. I talked about how, like, I don't feel that's something that really, if this is your mainline IP, you need to have full-time steady employees so we have a consistency and there's not people going in and out. And we already know about the scathing reports that leaked out. Anyway, back on point. My last thing with this is I would love for them to maybe be the stewards of the lore, allow some other studios to make spin-offs at minimum. If you're still going to keep Halo, all right, fine. But at minimum, like you said, let's do a third person. Let's do a horror. We've got people in the building. That would love to take a crack at this stuff and kind of build, because you got this immersive, tremendous universe you're just sitting on. Use that opportunity and maybe, you know, it goes away for a little bit. Maybe the mainline Halo goes away for a little bit, right? And you build stuff back up. And maybe that's the approach. But I'm going to be honest, like, there's a part of me, Matty, that does not believe that statement all the way that, yes, it's business as usual. Nothing has changed.
Can't be.
Look at the action. You always look at I don't look at the words. When someone tells me something, that's great. You said it. I'm looking at your actions. And behind the scene, the actions it may be different. Well, they got to prove it wrong. But I'm curious, like, do you believe it or what do you think? What do you think they should do?
I have a weird theory that this is almost like let's get out ahead of anything and make it known, like, we're going to do this thing for the foreseeable future. Like, if maybe Xbox was tampering with the idea of, you know, maybe we'll move them off of it. Well, let's make this public declaration that we are. And so if they were to pull us off of it, it's going to look really weird now. I mean, sounds nefarious. It's a real galaxy brain theory, but it's just one of those moments I thought of where it was provoked, but it was so delayed that it was so brief that when you just look at the statement, right, it's like you said, the action of it speaks louder than the actual words, where I was like, something was fishy about this. Like, it's just very quick, brief. There was no, like, we understand how you're feeling. You know, there was no, here are the plans for Halo Infinite moving forward. There was no, like, here's how we're going to do Master Chief moving forward. None of that. Just, we're going to keep working on the games. Nothing about the laid off talent, the stage they're going through. There was so much to be said here, and it was very little. And sometimes that speaks louder than more words, right? And I feel like that's what happened here. To me, I don't buy it. I don't buy that they would receive the most layoffs, pretty much blatantly, and I feel bad for them, being labeled as the incompetent one. And I don't say it as slander, but literally, like, we laid off the insufficient talent and they got hit with the most layoffs in the gaming division. That's saying something. You scaled down the single player size. That says to me, you're going to hone in on this live service. You're going to keep working on this live service. And they're probably not making a new Halo story for a while. I don't know what this means for the 10-year plan. I imagine it's probably off because you've now laid off dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people. And if you're working on in that 10-year plan, a new Halo Infinite game, you're going to need a new story for it. So I think they're telling them, bro, go fucking fix Infinite first. You're not moving on to the next thing. We're not going to let you have the talent to move on to the next thing. And in the meantime, my hope, like we all are, is not just to get the IP free from them, as I've been saying well before any of this shit, but get it free from them enough to let other teams experiment. Like, I'm giving Halo the same energy I give Fallout. Fallout should be all over the place by now. And it's not. And I respect series preservation, but when it's something like Halo, which its campaigns show so many elements. Like, I always think of 343 Guilty Spark. Like, that was a level out of a horror game. When you crawl through the tunnels and you see them coated with Covenant blood and you're like, Covenant died here. Who the hell killed them? And you find out it's this nasty, morphed version of a Marine. You're like, what the hell? Creepy as hell. That opened up everyone's minds to, like, what if the Flood you were trapped in a ship and it's a survival horror game or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Chris suggested the idea of Obsidian with a Halo RPG. Just the ideas are too good to not be pursued. Much like, again, what I say with Fallout, the idea of a remaster, an Obsidian Fallout game is too good to not pursue. And this is where you do got to go into what Dylan's talking about here, I think. Hello, fellas. After the terrible layoffs last week and the talk about Halo and 343, people are understandably mad and upset. There's been a lot of talk about management, specifically Phil Spencer. That leads me to my question, what about the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty? Matt Booty has been head of studios since January of 2018, before acquisition season really started, and I haven't heard his name get dropped once. I know it's a lot of studios, but is it time to question his role in all of this? Thanks, y'all, and have an A1 day. That's what I was going to lead into. Is I think eventually we got to start talking about this type of stuff. Eventually.
No.
I think the time to really dive deep is when we see how, we'll call it phase 1 of 2023 goes. Where does Starfield fall? Where does Forza fall? How did Xbox deliver on their promises? And then how did these games release when they gave them that time? That's when we really start to talk about Matt Booty's position, because now he came in during the new era, right? They got all these new studios. You got your Compulsion, your Ninja Theory, and he's kind of shepherding that era. And we're soon going to finally see in this year some of the delivery of that. Like we might see, I hope, Hellblade 2 this year. It makes sense we should. We're finally going to start to see the fruits of that labor. That's when I think it's judgment time, right? Like what did he produce? And at least on the Halo front, I think it shows he's had a pretty staid hand for the most part. And I think it's tough because as a creative, you want to respect, give them time, let them do what they want. That's how you get the best work out of them, not forcing them to make something they don't want to make. Like they might be sitting there going, we want to make Halo. And it's the tough, the business decision is to pull this shit out from under you. But the creatives in you, named after 343, probably don't want to work on anything else. And that's, again, where you got to look at him as a leader. Like, you got to make that call, man. And what that call is, I don't envy it, but I would say from the outside looking in, mind you.
Yes, what you doing?
You pull that IP from them. You relegate them to a support studio for now. And you let them earn the opportunity to work on a full IP themselves. Give them I hate to use this, but give them the kind of Call of Duty workshop cycle treatment. Like, not sufferable, by the way, but I mean more so like, go help make Gear 6. Learn how Coalition produces their games. Learn why they're consistent, why when they come out, they deliver. Then, once you've learned your lessons, come on out. We'll have you make a game, but you got to slow down. You're going way too fast. And sometimes when your head's ahead of your mouth, right? You're going way too fast, a mile a minute. Slow down. Let's trim you down. Focus on Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Get that in a steady motion. But otherwise, help out your friends. Learn about the process again. We're never too old to start learning. And I don't mean to sound condescending, but like if I were in issues, that's kind of the move I'd be pulling. This is a support team for now. You don't announce that. You don't humiliate them, but you quietly do that. And the next thing they drop is a small passion project. Not a big, the campaign, the multiplayer, the horde, it's all here, baby, as they pound their chest. Halo's back. No one's ready for that right now and won't be for a while after Infinite. You need to slow them down before people are really calling for just shut them down, which I know people already kind of are. I don't think 343 should go anywhere. I just think they need to be slowed down because they're going way too fast for their scale. Which was it's too contract focused. That's a product of Microsoft. It's problematic. Let them be smaller and more nimble and work on something smaller as a separate thing to Halo Infinite and help out other teams for now. Let them go away, let people forget, and bring them the redemption story. They deserve that much. That's what he should be setting them up for as a leader.
This is a good question, as I am so torn about this whole situation. And I want to be clear, because another thing I keep forgetting to mention is that, we got to talk about these developer reports on some level. And what it keeps screaming is incompetent leadership, management issue. We felt stifled. We felt, it's a problem. And look, this to me is one of two things. If the developers are passionate about it, and they are, saying to themselves, like, yo, we're not being heard, or we see things and we're busting it out here, and it ain't. To me, that does show there's some disconnect. There's some disconnect. So where's the disconnect? Is the disconnect that you're ignoring whoever is the management, what the devs are saying? Is the disconnect that there's middle management and middle management is not being truthful to the big boys when Matt and Phil come through? Because I said this before in ILP, you can't tell, and this is not, what's the kid's called capping for Phil Spencer and capping for Matt Booty, but you can't tell me that Matt Booty or Phil Spencer did not stop by 343 Studios to see what they're working on and to see where things are. You just can't tell. You can't convince me. That would be the most egregious violation of leadership. So one to believe it's one of those two things. Like, middle management ignoring or someone lying. You know what I'm saying? One of the two, something going on. You can't tell me, because it's like, we've heard the stories of like these guys going to the studios to check in to see what's going on. And if you get in a guided tour about, here's this level that's actually working and it's good and it's, you know what I'm saying? And you're not getting the full. So back to what I was saying, like, to me, the indictment is also the Staten situation. Because from what we know, Staten was brought in to get them across the finish line because it was looking very spooky. Could you imagine what the pre-Staten state was if that would have launched? Because remember, if they didn't get the negative reception that they got, there's no Staten, and there's no, to the point where, Staten even talked about this as far as like, one of the mainstays of Halo is like, you're with your Marines, you're getting them in the war hall. Okay, I'm going to put a sniper on you and I'm going to do it. And you're running around and you feel like they may be cannon fodder or something, but if you equip them right and set them up and strategize, you could tell. Apparently that wasn't part of the original pre-Staten situation.
Yes.
That's mind-blowing to me. So there's a part of me that's sad that he's gone because he represented the hope. Selfishly, I did want Halo Infinite to continue. I did want Halo Infinite to continue with the quote-unquote 10-year plan. But if they didn't give them the resources, or if the devs say, hey, if we need, in order for us to execute this, we need this and we need this amount of time, and management ain't doing it, then that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. So again, I'm speculating. I don't know for sure.
It's all speculation at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's all speculation. There's so many conflicting reports. And the last thing I'll say is that the other problem I see infrastructure-wise, it feels like they're all siloed off into these mini subsets. And that has to change. So look, I'll finish up and say, that I would hope after the public embarrassment of what has happened, that the decision is made either way, that they are either going to be the steward, they're not going to be the steward, and that the decision is going to be made from a process standpoint that things have to change. And if that means being a more aggressive, less hands-off approach, because this studio has shown with their track record that maybe someone need to be looking over the homework every marking period.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Then maybe that's what you got to do. And again, I'm just speculating, but that's all I got on that.
100%. Yeah. You brought up one last point I just wanted to touch on briefly, like the embarrassment of it. Like they, it's their own doing. It's also management's doing, but they're kind of, they're probably feeling humiliated. It's like, yeah, we have this storied franchise, literally the heart of Xbox, and we have fucked it up. That's a horrible feeling. And to inherit that, like, I don't envy Pierre. That's why I'm saying, like, I think Matt, Phil, middle management, I don't give a shit whoever has the call, who can say, like, what can we do with them? You got to reel them in from the public because they are getting beat up. People have even said to us, like, I think we've been very fair for 343. We've been stern. Oh, yeah. But we've been fair with them. We've given them love whenever they do something right. We'll give them love with season 3 probably because it's shaping up to look pretty good. But like, spare the hardworking team, man. I'm not trying to like white knight them here too much. Like, yeah, they earned the smoke, but like, spare them a little bit. Do not roll them out for another big Halo game when they're not ready. Like, just don't force them to be the shepherds of Halo when they're clearly not there yet. Like, and they won't be forever, possibly. You know, you got to put them in a safer position because now they're just, if you set them up to fail, is that really 343's fault? That's leadership's fault. It's like, you got to find a place for Halo that it's going to thrive in. And if it's not going to thrive here, you got to find somewhere else. But we'll see. We'll see. Last bit of news, really quick one. 9 games coming to Xbox Game Pass. Of course, we know one of them now is Hi-Fi Rush out on Series X, S, PC, and Cloud. Then we also talked about this one, GoldenEye 007, dropping January 27th on Cloud and console. RoboQuest drops January 30th on console, game preview. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition comes to console and cloud on January 31st, as well as Inkulinati, which is in game preview. That's console, PC, and cloud. And then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R comes out, and Dustin would love this one. I think Dustin picked this game up. But that comes out to console, PC, and cloud. Again, January 31st. Then February 2nd, we get Darkest Dungeon on console, PC, and cloud, as well as Grid Legends on cloud, Game Pass. And then Hot Wheels Unleashed, I don't know who gave it this one, but Game of the Year edition, February 7th. So you guys can get your Forza fix while they figure out whenever the release date is with the Game of the Year Hot Wheels Unleashed. Now, 4 games are also leaving Game Pass January 31st. It's Donut County, Taiko no Tatsujin, The Drum Master, Telling Lies, and Worm WMD. So you can check all those out again before they leave Game Pass. But that's what's going on over there. Cog, anything pulling your interest?
No, super solid. Now, come on, Hi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Age is low key is big for them because again, it's getting a console release. Yep. Yeah, but that's solid. I can't go crazy on it.
Me, it's just Hi-Fi Rush and certain game we'll talk about right now. So
Golden. I'm sorry.
So we got a Game Pass pick of the week time, and I'm up.
Yes.
I warned y'all last week. I said you're probably going to know what it is, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's not got to be a surprise. It's just going to be a reminder from your good friend Matty on what you could do with your time. So Game Pass pick of the week. I'm going with Persona 4 Golden. Now, just January 19th, we got Persona 4 Golden. We got Persona 3 Portable. Persona 5 Royal has obviously been there for some time now, to Cog's enjoyment. Still hoping my man finishes the game though. But
oh god, yes, another 300-hour game.
Warfare 2, bro. I just gotta buy you these games, and then I'll make you feel like you.
That's the.
I gotta buy you these games. Now I know what your friends do, and now I get it. I'm gonna give you that energy. I'm gonna be like, here, Cog, here's my credit card, man. I'm kidding, but
hilarious.
Persona 4 Golden. I think this is one of the most wholesome, uplifting gaming experiences you can have. Now, I've got to get a little personal with this one because I'm trying to convince you to walk in my world a little bit here.
Let's go.
When I played Persona 4 for the first time, I was in a pretty dark spot. I was struggling with all manner of things, most notably depression and a lot of suicidal ideations. I was in a really dark spot. And I remember I picked this game up kind of just like a whatever thing. I had heard really good things about it around high school. And it was this guy, Joe. I remember in history class, he was like, you should try it out. I never did. But then, funny enough, Colin posted a lot about the Vita and his enjoyment of it. I was like, this thing looks great. I started looking up reviews for games. I saw Gravity Rush. I saw Uncharted Golden Abyss. And then I saw Greg Miller's review of Persona 4 Golden. And he I think gave it a 9.5. Fun fact, the thumbnail for that video still has a spoiler or has a misspelling. It's Persona 4 Golen in the
the Golen.
But there's some reviews that I just remember fondly, and like that's one of them. Like I just remember seeing that and be like, oh, I want to pick this up. And so like I said, I was going through like a pretty dark time, and I just kind of bought a Vita, and I think it came with it was the Walking Dead package, and I picked up Persona 4 Golden. And when I say this thing grabbed me by the collar and pulled me out of every single funk I was in, I mean, seriously, like I know it sounds kind of silly to some to be like, oh, I didn't get therapy. I just played Persona 4 Golden. But I mean, I eventually got therapy, and I'm in a much better spot now, but holy shit, man, this game is powerful. It's a powerful video game about friendship, about the importance of enjoying one another. And it's not necessarily the messaging. Well, the messaging is strong here. It's the dialogue and banter. it's the back and forth, watching a group of innocent teenagers just kind of enjoy each other. It reminds you of the simplicity of life, the fun you had when you were a kid. And it was very mentally grounding to me that it's like not so hopeless. Like I was just like, yeah, life is fun. And like when you're with your friends, you're having fun and they'll go on trips together. And, you know, it's not like what goes wrong? What dark twist do we take here? It's like, you know, the worst thing that happens is someone's bathing suit falls off and he has to wear a piece of seaweed. And it's like, oh man, like this. But it's the star-studded voice cast that also like hard carries the script. Because like the script is good, but you've got Yuri Lowenthal, Troy Baker, Laura Bailey.
Oh, wow.
You got all these types of star-studded voice talent, Johnny Young Bosch, all in this game and in major voiced roles. And they're obviously, we know how talented all these people are, and they're all here. And like the way Troy Baker brings Kanji to life, Yuri with Yosuke, my favorite character in the game, Laura Bailey with Rise is hilarious. Like everyone's got these dynamics, these interactions. The performance is phenomenal in this game. So all I'll say is like, if you're kind of in a dark spot and you're looking for something to lift you up, this game is perfect for that. I actually have a friend going through a pretty rough time right now. And I've said to him, you got 2 games you should play right now. They're on a very short list that I would recommend to someone struggling mentally. Final Fantasy IX, Persona 4 Golden. Those are the 2 games that I always tell people who are struggling, give these a look. Final Fantasy IX, a little old, but the message in that game, I'll just call it the not alone moment. God bless. Fucking amazing. Powerful. Persona 4 Golden as an experience. It's going to be the type of game that if you go from start to finish, you're going to walk away from it and say, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Everyone I know who's beat this game, and it's not as tall of a task as Persona 5 Royal. We're talking like 70, 80, give or take, hours.
Okay.
Still a lot more manageable than 130. But it's that type of game that when you go from start to finish, like you're going to feel the heartstrings getting pulled at, man, because you're so comfortable with this group of friends. It's one of the best casts in all of video games. But beyond that, you're not going to get like the palaces in Persona 5, like those great dungeons. You get okay dungeons. They're still thematic in how they're visually presented, but they're just going up floors. That's it. Like you're just running around a dungeon, going up floors. And turn-based combat's still great. You don't have the baton pass though. So if you're going from 5 to 4, expect some missing mechanics here that have made the series better. And that does sting a little bit. But I as someone who is just playing it like for Retro Rebound, like it does not, and granted, I'm very biased, but I don't think it ruins anything. It's just you're going to be like, I wish we had this. But the social system is still awesome here. You know, hanging out with your friends, building up those links, using them as gameplay benefits, you know, to get buffs, new moves, like protecting your friend when they're at low health. And then, of course, the music. The music is a bop. It's going to get your foot tapping. It's so good. It's a very special video game to me, but just a special video game in general. Like, it's a moment that came out at the end of the PS2 generation, again, with that star-studded talent that imagine the budget nowadays. If you came out and said, I've got a game with Yuri Lowenthal, voice actor of Spider-Man, Troy Baker, who literally is such a big actor, he picks his roles now. Laura Bailey, kind of in the same bucket. I got all these actors in one game. It's like,
that's
Persona 4 was a moment. They have every popular known name in today's industry all in one game. So kudos to Atlas for knowing talent when they saw it, but they killed it here. And it's a game that if you've got the time, because it's a time sink, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you've got the time, it's worth it. And if you're struggling, I say you make the time because it will help you.
That's powerful.
It will help you.
That's powerful that you said that. Yeah. Wow.
So,
okay. Say less.
That's what I got to say about Persona 4 Golden. It's available on Game Pass. Came out last week. Check it out if you have yet to.
No doubt.
All right. What do we got here? We got our last write-in of the show. And it's from Hayden Glass. Howdy, Dukes. I was wondering, do either of you use guides when playing games? I've been playing Persona 4 Golden, using a guide to make sure I get all the social links and stat boosts in the most optimal way. My friend seemed to disapprove, remarking how he had to figure it out himself. What say you? Have I committed a gaming sin, or am I simply optimizing my gaming experience? P.S. Shout out to our guy, Chris Raygun, getting ready to score a KO with his freaking mind. Man, the Forspoken slander in this show has been nasty. And it's not from us. It's from the audience. We're putting it on them, man. Hands up. We didn't do anything here. But Cog, you a guide guy or not?
This is a good question. Historically, and for the most part, no. However, I will put a disclaimer. What ends up happening lately is I start really loving a game, right? And if I'm the type of person, if I fall in love with it, then I'm like, damn, I kind of want that 1,000. I want that platinum. I want that extra collectible. I'm one away. And that's what started with Midnight Suns. I end up saying, I'm just going to finish it. That's it. On to the next. I'm usually comfortable, right? And then it's like, but damn, if I do these trials and I get this mission and I do the Abbey Outworld, I could get the, and then you start to see them achievements pop and it starts. And now I feel obligated because I love you so much. I want 1,000. I want a
Did you get 1,000 for Midnight Suns?
No, I'm like 600-ish, 700, but I'm like, it's very stingy. So my 600 is very impressive. I got
no. I'm not gonna. I know there are some games that you'll put 1,000 hours in. They're like, yeah, you got 30% though. It's like,
yeah, like bro, I forgot who I was talking. Me and you was talking about making achievements better. Devs, like, stop. If someone mainlines your game, at minimum, they should get 50%, 60% of the achievement score. Don't hit them with the 30%.
Yeah, like when you finish a game and you check the trophy list and the achievement list, like all smiles, it says 32%. I'm like, fuck, man, really? I put like 40 hours into this.
Hours in that, especially it's demoralizing when you get that.
I feel like I just connected with you on a different level.
Bro, we right there. So that whole part right there, and then the whole fact of, like I said, I go after the extra stuff. And there's sometimes, just to be honest, there's like, I'm not going to say that no one is capable, but some things are so obscure and so, you know what I noticed? Some things are so time specific. Like if you miss it at this level, this thing, you will never get the opportunity to do said thing again. And it's like, I don't want to miss this. I want to feel this thing out. So I'm like, all right, let me look at a guy. All right, okay. One of them was like, what does, I forgot, it was so stupid with the relationship thing. Like, what does these people like? What could give me the best bonus for what these people like when I go out on these Tinder relationship building things with Captain America, or I do book club with Blade? What is, that kind of thing. So I want you start to get into a completionist bag, and that's when I started to notice, hey, I've done that, and listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I will say, like, my initial thing is to solve it myself and not look. And the defense of people who use guides, there are some times where I feel like some things are just designed cheap and bad. And it's like, bro, like, that's not fair to them. So if someone looks, I don't judge them, be like, yo, you didn't, you know what I'm saying? But I don't go out my way, because I usually, my first experience, I don't like it spoiled. That's usually my first thing. But I'm curious how you approach this, because you're a completionist, you're a guy that finishes all his games. Like, I want to know, like, how you approach that.
Yeah, I think we're pretty similar on this one, because I have a set of rules, much like you. Try to figure it out yourself. Like, that's a rule of thumb with reviews, right? Because when you're in no man's land, like you're playing Elden Ring, you're like, there's no guide for this boss, there's no video. It is a little intimidating stepping in, but that's like part of the job, right? Like, you got to be good enough to figure it out. And then critique if it was good or not. So, I'm always big on, like, try it to figure it out yourself first. I think that's more valuable to anyone who listens to me anyways, if I've experienced it and figured it out myself. But beyond that, like, as a player, that's step one. Step two is I don't check the trophy achievement list anymore when I start up a game. I found COG, when it got its hooks deep in me, changed my play style bad. Yeah, I started replaying missions on the spot that I typically wouldn't. I would interrupt my own flow to be like, oh, wait, this is a good group of enemies, and I got an achievement to kill 15 of you with a specific weapon. Oh, I didn't get them. Retry checkpoint. Oh, I didn't get them. Retry checkpoint. I'm like, at one point, I think I was playing Rage 1. I was like, I'm playing this so abnormally. I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, it's fun, but I'm like disrupting games to kind of go for the meta game instead of the actual game. And so then I started to change it to, like, this is my love letter. I say all of that to say this. What I would do is I would go through the game. Once I roll credits, you do the love barometer. I love this. I need more. Then you check the list. That was good. I still probably peep it out because sometimes that will make you love a game. Like, okay, let me take the deep dive, or it makes it a lot more fun at least. Then there's the uninstall, right? We're done here. That was the Forspoken. That was like, no, we're done. And so I was like, I'm out. But otherwise, when it comes to guides, yeah, it's figure it out yourself. Like I fired up Battle for Bikini Bottom for a video I'm doing on Retro Rebound, and I already beat the game and I was close to 100% completion. So I didn't get it all the way, but I was like, let me get some of Patrick's socks. So I fire up a guide, and like those are the things that I'll get help with. Like, so like you said, some things in games are designed weird. Like one of the things I had to do to get his sock is I had to like destroy very specific objects in the Krusty Krab. And I'm like, I wouldn't have done this. And then suddenly a sock spawns. So, the guides are vital in that type of stuff. Games are weird. They like their hidden things. And I almost feel they're built by design in that way. Like you're not going to just stumble upon that by breaking everything in the Krusty Krab or the Shady Shoals retirement home. You're not going to. So guides serve their purpose. I do miss the days of strategy guides, but I think today with especially video coverage, TikTok, YouTube, etc., Twitter, sharing of experiences, streams, it's easier to learn a game that way and like what you need to do rather than what I used to do as a kid, which is like, where's the Brady Games guide or the Prima guide, and just
remember the Prima
flipping that open, like going to the page.
Yes.
I had that for Munch's Odyssey. I actually still have mine for Mega Man Battle Network in the other room. Like they're special and they're definitely an era, and they still make them more as like collectibles than actual. Maybe people still use them. I shouldn't assume, but I think most people just quickly phone video. That's a natural evolution of things, right? But yeah, I'm going way off track here. Point being is I don't use guides that much, especially when it's challenge related. It's challenge related. No. It's puzzle related. Yeah. Last game I religiously used the guide for was oh my God, I'm blanking on the game. I like had it in my head. Survival horror game. I put it in my top 5. Pixel art PS1 style game. Survival horror. Boom, boom.
What?
Signalis. Holy smokes.
Signalis. I'm bugging. Yes.
Signalis. That is the game I used the guide for, because eventually I was getting lost and I was like, okay, like this is old school. And I warned people in my like top games video. I was like, yeah, by the way, this is an old school joint. Like you're going to kind of feel like you might need a guide here or something like that. And I did. No shame in admitting that. Some of the puzzles are complex. It just helped my enjoyment of the game. Like it's specific. I don't think, Hayden, you're wrong, because like Persona 5 or 4, I'm sorry, any Persona game really, like if you want to do, in the case of Persona 4, the golden route, complete all the dungeons, complete all the social links, get the best ending, get the platinum in one playthrough, you got to follow a literal day-to-day schedule in that game, because there's so many things to complete in one shot. So I don't think you're wrong, Hayden. Especially Persona is particularly overwhelming if you're new to it. I think 5 does a good job bringing you into it, but 4, you are just plopped in there. And it is fun as hell, but it is like super overwhelming. So just beware of that, Hayden. Beware of that.
Yeah, we ain't no judgment free zone. Absolutely. We good. You ain't no game of sin.
Absolutely. But Cog, that's it. That's everything we got for episode 108 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. It's been an absolute blast having just things to talk about. This is a taste of the Dukes for real.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's long overdue.
Yeah, it really was.
And trust me, there was other stuff. There's still more stuff we can talk about, but it's just like, I love that the focus was that, because we got games, we got things, we got a year that looks like promising. And yeah, man, I'm excited. It's a fun show.
As am I. So ladies and gentlemen, you got this deep. You want to let us know your thoughts on the show. Really got to do like a hashtag hi-fi DD, yeah?
Oh, we're going hi-fi with it? Yeah, okay.
I think we did something with the direct, right, last time. So
yeah, you're right.
We'll do hi-fi, like the surprise shadow drop. So you got this deep. You can tag us on Twitter at G27status, at Lord Cognito. Use the hashtag hi-fi DD. If you want to go ahead and post in the comments, use that same hashtag. Let us know your thoughts. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, take great care of yourselves, and we will see you in episode 109 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. I'm going to say codcast. But until then, take great care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.